Municipal with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Excuse me. Mr. Administrator, any changes in the agenda this evening?
No. That I have.
Do we have approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second it?
Like to make an addition if I
Oh.
don't mess people up.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, under new business, perhaps you could call it housekeeping.
Mhm.
Of issues with our website and town information updates, if we could, shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes.
Okay. Would you like to?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda with the new business.
I'll second it for the amendment. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Public, that we're gonna have the public hearing on the acceptance of the ARPA funds at 6:05. So at this point, I'm gonna read the announcements and we'll go to some public input on agenda items only. The public participation policy applies to the selectmen meetings. A copy of this is in the back of each agenda posted in this meeting room and on the website. The town clerk's collector's office will be closed on Thursday, September 21st, 2023 for the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association 84th Annual Education Conference.
Should we speak a little bit prior to on the ARPA funds so people know what they're exactly?
Sure. The ARPA funds are a surplus of funds from the state or
Town.
for the town.
They're surplus funds that the county received.
The county
That
receives.
the county delegation decided to disperse to the communities within the county.
And this is a surplus of $20,000 per town. If we accept it, and we are planning to accept this, and one of the reasons that we can put it towards whatever area that the town sees that it's important to and sees fit to use. And the Alton has decided to use these funds to increase the benefits of the hiring and retention of the town employees. There are no strings attached in any way with the state for any of this, and this is something we accept, and if we don't, we lose it. So that being said, if there's any, we have another minute. If there's any public input on the agenda items, come on up. Okay. We'll wait another, well, it looks like about another 30 seconds or so.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
Everybody good? Todd, I see you in the back over there. I'm not waiting for you to leave.
Couple more seconds. Okay, there it is. Okay, so right now we'll open it to the public acceptance of the ARPA funds. Would you can just do a vote? on this?
If there's no
If there's,
public
if there's any other public input on this at all? Okay,
I'll make a motion. Oop, yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, close it first, right? Then
You close the public hearing.
Okay, so at this time, I'll close it to the public input at this time.
I'll make a motion to accept the ARPA funds of $20,000.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, no appointments this evening?
No.
Okay, we'll go right to new business. Number one, issuance of building permit map 10 lot 6, Range Road. Okay, so this goes back into 2022, November of 2022.
Yes.
were all the departments issues met?
As far as I know, looking at the recommendations, the one thing that popped up is on the fire department's review. They did mention, and I think it's probably gonna be a 911 issue is that the road can't be named Range Road because we already have a Range
Right.
Road.
That's correct.
That was the only thing I saw pop up in the email there.
And that's where I was gonna mention myself is that has that name. Have we received any information of the name of the road being changed?
I have not seen anything with that. That doesn't necessarily preclude them from being able to, from the board being able to issue a building permit. Just if you don't mind, the board doesn't mind, Jessica's here tonight, so I wouldn't mind. Do you mind coming up to the table? Just because you're a lot more familiar with this particular case.
Good evening. Excuse me, I got a mint in my mouth.
Good evening, Jessica.
Jessica.
Can you
Crowell,
enlighten
Town
us on
Planner.
this a little bit?
I wasn't prepared to speak on this tonight, but I do believe that he may have already chosen a new road name. I'm just not sure what it is.
Okay.
Actually came across some paperwork earlier
Yes.
that John had given me. And there was a proposal, but I'm not sure what it is. So he is aware that that needs to get changed.
Okay, because that was one of the concerns with the fire department.
Mhm.
It seems as though the other issues have been met.
I believe so.
Like I said, that can also be resolved at 911 issuing.
Mhm.
Because 911 has an issue with it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They'll rectify it beforehand. So if the board does choose to issue the building permit,
Mhm.
that wouldn't hold anything up or.
Okay.
Then anything. But I just want to make sure everything else,
Thank
you were
you.
comfortable with everything.
All right, have you been comfortable with it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's good to go.
thank you, Jessica.
Take advantage of you being in the office and the
Mhm.
audience.
You're welcome.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thanks, Jess.
Okay.
All right, do we have a motion to accept the issuance, to grant the issuance of building permit?
I don't think we can till we get the road name change, right? Are we allowed to do that?
No.
No, you can
no.
do that because
No.
that will be straightened
come up.
out by 911
Okay,
when they do the 911 application.
so
I'm fine with that, that answer, if that's how it can be done. Where 911 will take care of it anyway.
so you just want me to make the motion to grant him the building permit?
Yes.
All right.
Granting issuance of the building permit.
Yep.
Yes.
I make a motion that we grant the issuance of the building permit, map 10 lot 6.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Okay, second on new business, Hub 66 broadband presentation.
Yep, come on up to the table. Just to sort of give you the synopsis of where we are up to date with this is the first time you guys are hearing about this. So Hub 66 had reached out to me a little while back because they were working on a broadband ring around Barn Door Island. That's where the discussion started. And they were working on putting that proposal together with the association to service the island properties over there. Since then, you got this initial summary sheet. New Hampshire, the state has put out some pretty nice funding packages for areas that are underserved. And those have to be identified, but in order to take advantage of this, the town needs to be in support of it, not financially, but in sort of the initiative. So I asked the folks today to come in and give you a quick overview of everything. The application for the money is time sensitive, so obviously we wanted to get this in front of the board so we could get a consensus as to whether the board would want to support the initiative or not. So I'll let you guys take it from there.
Okay, I'll
Introduce
introduce
yourself.
myself.
Yep.
I'm Andrea Vient from Hub 66.
Yeah, my name is Michael Matea.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. So maybe it makes sense for me to just start off by talking a little bit about the program, and then we
Sure.
can talk about Hub 66 specifically and sort of what we're proposing to do and see what questions you may have. So this is a new program that was just opened up last week for the state of New Hampshire. It's initially funded with $25 million, and the intent is to use it to get every last person in New Hampshire that's either unserved or underserved access to high-speed internet. So unserved means that your speeds are less than 25 megabits down, 3 up, and underserved is 100 over 20. Just that's the state's ruling. So the state has put in to the budget committee a request to transfer $40 million. The timing is not yet determined from the BEAD funding, which is, from the federal government. So the money that's the state got, 40 million, is being allocated to this same program. So they're expecting this first wave to be 25 million. Then there'll be a next wave, 40 million. And the objective is to make sure that every individual or every home and business in the entire state is covered. And so they're going to continue to fund it until that happens. So one of the requirements of the application is that the town works with the provider, the internet service provider, and actually signs the application in support of the internet service provider doing the work. The program is a match program, so we would be putting the money up front, and then the state would then match a portion up to 75% of the work. So I'll just stop there for a sec if there's questions about that part of it. I'm not sure how much you've
So-
read about it.
Yeah, just to clarify for the
Sure.
board, because I did ask these questions ahead of time. They're not looking for it. There is, in here, there's some match funding. The match funding would be coming from their end of things, not the town.
Okay.
But like I said, the town needs to support the initiative in the areas in this town. Obviously, there's got to be some more work put into identifying all the areas that might apply. But obviously on the surface, we have a lot of habited islands that would benefit from this.
All the rattlesnake sleepers, bond.
There was no out-of-pocket expense to the town right now?
No, there would be no, it's just obviously, like they said, the town has to be in support of the initiative moving forward and
Right.
the
Certain
application.
towns we found have preferred certain internet providers for one reason or another. So they're trying to make it so that it's kind of a cooperative effort so that, internet providers aren't fighting.
Not having people fighting over.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Exactly. That way they know, all right, this town and this ISP are working together to accomplish this goal, and
Right.
it's nice and simple.
So, our existing internet providers, would they regard this as competition?
So if they haven't approached you already about trying to apply for this funding, I'm assuming that they're not going to. Because all the internet providers are talking with the various towns that they've been working with or have developed relations with to try to apply for this type of funding. So if you haven't heard from them already, I would assume that you probably won't.
Yeah, just a little bit of background on Hub 66. Please jump in here, Michael. So we have two arms of our business. We have fiber business. We've had fiber in, many communities in New Hampshire. And we also have a lot of customers on the islands of Lake Winnipesaukee, where we've done a fixed wireless solution there. And as Ryan mentioned, we're working on a fiber solution for the island of Barn Door. We worked with the association and the homeowners to fund that. So we're not looking for that to be part of what the ask is, because that's already underway. So what we've been talking about is rattlesnake and sleepers and getting those fiber. We have some existing customers out there today, but the state doesn't recognize anything but fiber or a wired connection as being served. So it's doesn't count as being served. So when we started talking to Ryan, we also saw that according to the New Hampshire mapping initiative that was sponsored last year, there are still some number of homes in the town that are on the mainland that are also still marked as underserved or unserved, which is something that we could also talk about. I'm not sure, they're also not sure how accurate that data is, and they're looking for the help of the towns to validate that data. So initially we did approach, Ryan about the islands, because that's where we have our, we have a proven implementation already on Barn Door. I don't know if you want to give any more background on Hub
Yes.
66.
So we don't really know how like I just said, how accurate the mapping data the state put together, but basically we would take their mapping data and then we would probably do our own effort to evaluate those sites and just see, hey, is there a cable line? Is there a fiber line existing
Mhm.
that could service these people? And if there isn't, there might be some streets in some areas that maybe there's some residents that either, new construction or a house that may have got skipped during previous builds that don't have access to high-speed internet. Then we could put together part of this application. We could put in an effort to try to reach those people with new fiber optic lines as
see.
well, to make sure everyone in town is serviced. Because the whole point is if we go after this funding, the amount per home is pretty significant that the state's willing to spend, because they have recognized that a lot of places that are unserved right now are the most expensive places to reach, typically because they're rural. There's only one
Right.
house on a mile of road or things like that. So they, from our understanding in our, brief conversations with the state, it was like they're looking like reasonably, they might even spend as much as $10,000 to $12,000 per home to provide internet access. So I think that's all reasonable if they're trying to get down farm roads or any
Mhm.
roads that just have been skipped by providers.
Right, they're gonna continue to fund it. I'm sorry.
No, go
They're
ahead.
gonna continue to fund it until every home and every business in the entire state is covered. So this is also, once in a lifetime opportunity to utilize those federal dollars that are coming into the state to make sure everybody has access.
As far as Barn Door Island's concerned, though, if there's nothing out there right now, you guys would have like exclusive rights to that whole island. So you guys would set whatever the pricing is, that's they either take it or leave it type
Sort of.
situation.
So the customers will still have options the way they do now. Like we have high-speed services out there right now. It's just wireless to, we have our fiber goes to like a cell tower.
Mhm.
And then we have a dedicated connection to the island, and we can bring in some really high speeds now. And we still only have a certain amount of people that take the service. Some people are still using their Verizon 5G hotspot. There's still some people using DSL out there. There's some people using Starlink up there. So even if we do bring that fiber out there, I wouldn't say it's still exclusive. It's just the fact that we'll be on the poles and everyone will have the option to take it if they want it.
Have you already had some on Rattlesnake?
So right now
Or-
we have probably like a third of the residents on Rattlesnake serviced through our wireless service, but the state's not recognizing our wireless service as the high speed option that they want. They want everyone with like a hardwired
Right.
fiber connection. So what we would do with this funding from the state is we would run fiber optic lines on all the utility poles on the whole island so that everyone would have like equal access to that, physical connection.
And so we previously were, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, we previously were approached by the Rattlesnake Association excuse me, last year, because they heard about what we were doing on Barn Door. And at that time, this program wasn't available. And so we're looking for the residents to contribute in some way and work through some kind of process with us. And at that time, the island was a little bit split. And but there was a lot of people who have expressed interest. And we've been in
Mhm.
communication with the association, at least on Rattlesnake, not Sleepers.
According to your mapping data that you have here, as far as address locations unserved, you're 369.
So this is from the New Hampshire Broadband Mapping Initiative.
Mhm.
So that was funded by the state of New Hampshire, and these are the results that they've published on their site. And I think, Ryan, I might have sent you the link.
Yeah,
and I can
when
follow
we
up
were
with that.
talking on our Zoom meeting, we looked at those numbers and I think they're underrepresented in the sense that at 305, I mean, that's probably one of the islands alone.
yeah, alone.
And this does not include, these numbers.
Oh, they don't include the
don't
islands. I'm
include the
sorry.
islands.
That's
So,
just mainland.
This is just mainland. That's one of the questions I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Did that include the island or is that just what we have in town?
That's just, and so the way they got the data is that all the providers that are in the area submitted data to the state. Just like we're required to submit data to the FCC. So we all submitted data to the state and then they based it off of that. And based on I know there's several providers, they identified these gaps. But that's where they're looking for the towns to look at this data and then validate if it's accurate or not.
Sure. Okay.
Does the state end up owning whatever infrastructure this money?
Who owns the
So-
infrastructure?
The ISP that builds it would own it. So if we were partnered with you and we were building this infrastructure, we would own that infrastructure. Honestly, in most of the cases, it would add just another competitive provider because, like, let's say there's a house at the end of a street that we're trying to get to. In order to get to that person, we might have to pass by 30 other homes. So those homes might already have TDS or they might have, I forget who the cable provider is here, but you might have another service here. We would be a third provider for them. So it just gives them more options and more price competitiveness.
Yeah, all it's really doing is providing another option
another
for
option.
things that's
Yeah.
already here.
And
Which is-
the
which is
islands,
always
which
good.
can't
Which is
even
good.
get
It's
it.
always good to have
variety.
competition and
The islands don't even have, Barn Door doesn't have anything right now.
And
Don't have satellite internet or something. They probably don't. Or
Not a town.
They're,
not a
they're
town for the
wireless. They
town.
probably don't have anything.
Exactly.
But essentially what you're doing here, I think, and Sherry will correct me if I'm wrong. We're taking public funds to fund competition to other private companies. Is that fair to say?
I would say that's exactly what's been happening the past 3 years. So the state just gave out $40 million to the electric co-op to start a fiber optic division. They're competing with Consolidated Spectrum, all the cable companies. And then they just gave another, sorry, that's 50 million. And then they gave another 40 million to Consolidated that's overbuilding Comcast and some other providers. So I think that that's been a ongoing trend is they don't really care about who overbuilds where. They just want all these unserved people reached.
I want to reach everybody. Yeah.
they're saying, you know, the forward momentum of the state with everything is going internet based or online based. People are working from home. A lot of purchases have to be done on online, the online currency. And I think this initiative, and from what I've heard of it and looked at it, is they're feeling that it's now becoming a household necessity. That it used to be a choice as to whether you had a computer or whether you had internet. Now they're creating services that can only be accessed in that manner. So it's becoming more of a regular utility.
But
than
in Richard's
households.
defense, I see what he's saying. The end game of this is gonna definitely be who's getting paid, and who ain't at the end of it.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's,
he's got a point.
but at least you got choices at this point. You can decide who you want to use as your end game, so to speak.
And just off what you were saying, I love this story because we were called out to Rattlesnake back in November because the gentleman just bought a house out there. And he said, I need high speed internet. We're like, all right, it's November. Like you can probably wait till spring, right? But his house insurance wouldn't insure the house unless he had live camera footage out there because they wanted to know that no squatters were coming out or whatever the insurance company wanted. So he literally couldn't insure the house without a live video feed over a high speed internet connection. So like the need people have is just changing. You know?
With installing this infrastructure, if this is something we go with, there will like nothing as far as your competitors, nothing else will be touched on their end, right? All their stuff stays the way it is and it's just exclusively you're adding new things.
So the way like the utility poles work is someone owns the utility pole, usually it's the electric company, Eversource or, you know, whoever. And we apply for them for a license to add our lines to those poles. So those providers all have their own licenses. They stay there. Nothing changes with them. We just put our lines up on top of theirs.
And the rate people will pay, is that established by the state or by you or by some third party?
Like what they'll pay for services.
Yeah.
So the rates that are charged or whatever the providers currently charge or whatever their current programs are, but all the providers are required to participate in this affordability program that the federal government's running. I don't know all the specifics on it, but it takes off like $30 a month or so off the bill for people that have, you know, low income needs or some sort of income eligibility.
Yeah, so part of this program is the ISP is required to participate in the affordability connectivity program.
Mhm.
So the homeowner would submit an application and get approved that they would qualify, and then it gets like subsidized by the federal government. And then we're also required to provide a low cost option as well to the homeowners. That's part of the application as well.
Our low cost option is $60 a month and our high cost option is $89 a month. So I think you'll find us pretty cost competitive too.
Yep.
Sure. Overall, what I've seen from all the fiber products is the fiber products have been significantly less expensive than what the cable providers have been charging. And between us, New Hampshire Electric Co-op, Consolidated, those are the ones I'm probably most familiar with. I mean, everyone is sub $100 for like really high speed internet connections, almost 10 times what some of the cable providers are doing. So I think overall, from an affordability standpoint, all this money coming in is also allowing some of these offerings to be much more cost competitive than they were in the past.
I just like the idea there are more competitors out there to choose from.
That always.
They're gonna
helps.
be there whether we do it or not. It's just a matter of how many of them are gonna be there to pick from.
It's a matter of time before we all have to have this type of service.
Yeah, and so it's similar to like the electrification. I mean, it's, I'm sure you've heard that already, but the electrification of the United States, and this is exactly what's happening across the entire country in every single state where federal dollars are being allocated to each state specifically for this use. And New Hampshire is committed to making sure every single last person. So that's what this last round is about, is really identifying these last remaining people.
So what are you guys looking for from us?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna,
So,
this is
basically-
a presentation, but what do you need from us this evening?
So not much. We just need, an okay to move forward. And what we would do is Hub 66 would fill out an application for the state and we'd start working on identifying these homes and create an actual list and complete the full application for the state. And then before we send that application in, the town has to sign that application with us.
Just to be completely 100% clear, there is no charge to the town itself or the taxpayers thus far.
That's correct. There's no.
Until they
cost.
sign up for service, there's nothing happens to the taxpayers,
Correct.
right?
That's correct. Yep.
Unless you
All right.
look at the $40 million from the state.
Right. Okay, so what we need to do then is to have a vote whether to move forward with this evening. To move forward to work with you, and then you can continue that way. So, is there anyone who wants to entertain the idea of a motion
I mean,
to go with Hub 66 broadband?
Once we sign on with you, there is your competitors, if they were to come to us with something like this, we had already signed on with you. You have one company and that's it, correct?
That's correct.
And if I may, I will say, because, Selectman Shea had brought this up as well. We haven't, I was contacted by them, late last year, I think it was.
Yeah.
We haven't been contacted by any one of our providers in town, and there's never been an attempt that the town has been brought into or made aware of to service the islands at all. So that's why I think it's very unique and why they came in. And I don't know how you guys were first sought out by the islands, but all the islands have been really, obviously, since they've been built up, more people are spending most of their time working from home out there. There's been a driving need for access, and they've been the only ones that have had a solution.
How would you like it to be worded?
To
accept and move forward with the,
to accept Hub 66 broadband presentation, or to accept the application, if you will.
we'll fill out the application, I should say.
Well, I think at this point, if we could just, if you don't mind, I think we could simplify it and just take a vote in favor of supporting Hub 66 as they pursue federal funding in this program, because the application part's going to be a separate, because when it comes in its component, the board's going to need to see it again and vote to sign it.
That's what I was kind of wondering. So
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly how this was going to
What's the
go.
due date?
So,
If the due date's October 20th.
So we would probably produce the application in the next, couple weeks here.
Mhm.
Try to get a full application presented for you and then give you time to review it.
okay.
Right.
If we need,
That's-
we might
okay.
have to do some due diligence in terms of driving around and physically inspecting some of these poles and seeing, are there actually lines available
Yep.
to these customers and that type of thing.
Sure. Thank you. So would you like to make that motion?
I'd like to make that motion that we accept Hub 66 broadband presentation. Take it to a
Okay.
vote.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have to say as a taxpayer, I'm not really happy with the federal government and the state government identifying all these needs and then launching with your money into paying for them, usually without much control, without much forethought. I think that for someone that needs broadband internet, there are other options. They're probably more expensive and a bit more awkward. Starlink, Hughes, there probably will be others in the future. I read an article here just a short time ago about the average cost for the government's broadband push into the Dakotas at $30,000 per customer, which we're going to pay for. So I have no objection to offering our citizens options,
And that's what it would be at this time.
but I'm not excited about offering our citizens a government-funded option because that leaves the competitors at a distinct disadvantage.
Any other
I agree with what he's saying as far as that, but they're all government funded at this point, every one of them.
And they're
It's
the only
not-
ones that are
whether it's Hub
approaching us for the islands
66
right
or
now.
Verizon, or they're all government funded at this point, so it's, the tax money's already been, they've already divided it up, we might as well use some of it for our residents instead, before everybody else gets in, there's nothing left. So, but I agree
think
with you,
this-
it's not, but it's here and
In my opinion, this is basically becoming a force play for all towns to accept or not accept the future and to move forward. And I think it's like anything else, it's making people make these decisions with the federal government to move forward.
the fact of the matter is, if we don't take it, somebody else is gonna.
Mhm.
And then our residents are gonna get left
we
behind
will
because they don't
also-
have it.
If you don't mind, like I probably agree with you very much. Like if I could tell you stories about how some of this government money is spent, it would make you not be able to sleep at night because it's some of it's so irresponsible. It's crazy. But the reality is that the government, federal government already made their choice. The state government already made their choice. And now if you don't apply for this money, your residents just lose out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's all, and that's the only reason why I'm saying okay with it, because I know the money's already there. It's
already
just
been-
depending on where it's gonna go now.
Yeah, and the benefit of this particular round is that the town has a say in it where previously.
Right.
We're in the middle of a motion, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'd hate to interrupt you. Any further discussion from the board?
No.
Okay, and again, I think this is step one. We still have to have step two. Step two, we can make a decision whether we choose or not. But as far as right now, we're if we do choose to go forward with this, it's so that we can move forward and have you bring back a policy contract, if you will.
When you do, I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you do bring that back to us, will you have already done the drive around to see exactly where the dead spots in the town are? So we can see the
Mhm.
amount that we're lacking.
Yes.
Is that possible?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're gonna base it off of what was provided in the broadband mapping initiative. So all the providers of like TDS, everyone has provided that data. So we'll use that as a basis.
Thank you.
There's these two like numbers. This one that says like unserved means there's
saw
like,
that, yeah.
like nothing below 25.3. So I believe TDS has like fiber everywhere. They have lines. So I'd almost have to see no lines to like
Mhm.
identify that. But the underserved is a little tougher because that's that 100/20 category. And that I don't know exactly how they determined it, if that's just what the ISP is saying, or if they're also using reporting from user data. But sometimes cable struggles with upload speeds a lot. So some of those might be cable residents where their things just aren't working right in that part of town or something. It's a little harder for us to identify, but we'll try our best to see like,
I was
Thank
more
you.
concerned about the islands have nothing out there. I was curious who has no options right now.
Sure.
That's what I meant. Sorry about
All right.
that.
No problem.
Any other further discussion from the board? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I am.
All
opposed.
opposed? One. All right. Okay. All right,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Forward. Awesome.
Thank you
Just
very
keep in
much.
Contact with me and
Absolutely.
go from there.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to hearing your report and everything after you check it out. Thank you. Okay, moving along to Parks and Recreation Program update. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
How are you? How you doing?
Thank you.
Haven't seen you in a while.
Yes.
So if you remember, the board had asked me, Kelly was out
Yes.
away on vacation, but when she came back, we sat down, and had a conversation about youth programs. There you'll see that there's a breakdown of current programs and some future options. We also had an in-depth conversation. We had a little more of an in-depth this morning. We talked about budget, but the programs came up and she had some ideas about going into 2024, how we might be able to accomplish reviving some of the
Mhm.
programs that we had lost. So I will let Kelly take it over from there.
So my name is Kelly Trundle. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to speak tonight about recreation programs. Like the town administrator said, I did provide a list of new programs for 2023, future ideas for 2024, and then also there was a list of our current programs and then our past programs. We're currently working with the town of New Durham, their Parks and Recreation Department, to offer trips for school breaks and also in the summer. Some of the trips that we're working on are Canopy Lake Park, York's Wild Kingdom, Squam Lake, and Polar Caves. And we're also partnering with the towns of Farmington, Milton, and New Durham to offer a kids talent show. And that's scheduled for February of 2024. We're partnering again with New Durham to their Parks and Recreation Department to offer a Christmas lights contest. That would be a competition with the town of Alton versus New Durham for the most spirit. We're also working on a 5K race series where runners can choose a race in the surrounding towns. And if they complete so many, then they would qualify for a bigger prize like a jacket or a bag or something. That just increases participation. We're also working on a pickleball tournament possibility with New Durham. But I'm happy to hear any suggestions that you may have or any feedback that you may have for programs and working on adding those into our schedule.
I'm actually glad to see the programs and what you've had for attendance
Yes.
for 2023. So I was curious as to what the attendance was in some of these programs, or if not all of them. And there's more here than I thought there really was.
Okay.
That I thought I saw all of them, but there's a few more here. And these are some of the ones at the bottom that lack of interest in weather
Yes.
that did not fly and that you're just going to put aside.
Right. Or we'll try again if it was a weather issue. That there was every Friday it rained, so we didn't have the hikes on these specific days. Also in 2022, we had offered many more programs for youth, but we didn't have the participation. So we're just trying to figure out what people wanted or what they're interested in. In June of 2022, we had a forum that brought townspeople out and they gave us their feedback, and they wanted like a talent show. They wanted more concerts. We're partnering with Prospect Mountain High School to offer a concert, an indoor concert in January. We have a tentative date for that. So we're trying, we're listening to what the town is looking for, and we're working on offering those programs. Some other feedback was that people want an easier way to register. I talked to the town administrator and the IT director about some of those options, but so it's the example that was brought to me was like shopping on Amazon. They want all of their information stored. They want to be able to say, I want this program, that program, put it in a cart, online registration. They don't want to go to the town website, print off a form, fill out a form, mail it in, send it in with a check. We do have to turn people away that only have credit cards. We don't take credit cards. So that's one of the challenges that we do have. Also, another challenge that we have is just having a consistent space to offer programs. We have 2 community centers in town, but they are used frequently. There's one building that's used three nights a week for meetings, one building that's used 2 nights. So just having a one night a week that we can offer a teen center. We tried that a little bit and that was not successful. I think because of the registration process, people do need to fill out permission slips, and that is effort to do that. So it's not.
Why aren't we able to take credit cards for them to register?
It's just not something the town's doing right now, but I think the town's working on it. Josh and town administrator are working on some solutions. It's quite involved.
That needs to.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Eventually happen.
The delay isn't the app or the process to do it. It's the transparency and the auditing portion on the bottom, on the back end. So right now we have like, you can pay online at the clerk's office, dog licenses. Well, right now, when they pay with credit cards, the credit card company sends us one batch of ACH payments with no justification as to what it's for.
Okay.
So we may take a batch of payments that's $3,000 and we don't know what's a motor vehicle registration, what's a dog license, what are property taxes, and we end up having to balance those sheets regularly. So if we add in Parks and Rec needs to be on an independent system so that we know that everything that's coming in from their payment system belongs to the Parks and Rec or the Parks and Rec revolving account. It goes into one of those accounts so that everything just doesn't end up in the general fund.
It's definitely a problem.
You know, so that's more what we're trying to sort out right now. We talked a lot about that this morning when we were doing budgets. But Josh is looking at those
Trying to do a point of
programs and
sale for them.
trying to get that
Trying to-
situated.
Trying to make it so that each and every department or has their own access, or in this particular case, has its own access. Or the credit card company to get all that information for that, just that one.
That they have a different payment system so that they're all not merging. So we're not using one credit card company that's merging with one payment
Mhm.
from multiple departments because building is looking to pay permits online too, or
Mhm.
with
Right.
credit cards and
Right.
stuff. And right now, that was the other issue we ran in with them is they're right across the hall. But if we throw building in to the clerk's office's software,
Mhm.
that means their building permits are not going to be separated out from the ACH payments that we get all in one. So we're trying to,
It can't be a separate credit card, if you will, data machine
there are,
in each and every department.
but see, they don't, it may be different data machines, but because it's all coming from the same source to a same
I
card,
give you one
they
report.
give you one,
Okay.
one thing.
right.
So, but there's different
I'm surprised.
softwares out there and there's different things that we can, and one of the things that we talked about, visiting with, Parks and Rec in particularly was Venmo.
Right.
We might be able to do Venmo. And then that would be, receive the Venmo payment to the town. And we know that Parks and Rec is the only one that uses Venmo. Everything goes to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the looks of
definitely.
these numbers, it looks like we ought to start like a pickleball world headquarters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
really.
Very popular.
Impressive numbers.
It is very-
That's impressive.
That's pretty impressive. Are you happy with this year's numbers as far as participation in
Yes.
most of these programs?
Yes.
Was there an up from you feel?
I think like paint night was full. The pickleball is full. They have at the high school, they have 24 slots and at the elementary school, there's 18 slots and they're always full with a waiting list. So there's definitely people that want to participate. For our 5K race this year, we did have an online registration that's offered through Run Sign Up. And we did have 209 people participate in that race. So I would say that the online registration is definitely a trend that people, they want that. It's more convenient. They'll pay for it.
Definitely. How many 5K races do we actually have? 2 a year or
Well, the town sponsors one,
town
and
sponsors?
that's in August.
And that was during Old Home Week.
Yes, it's the second Saturday in August.
Not to get off base, but I just want to ask a quick question about that as far as the and I don't mean to go any further with this.
Sure.
With the 5K race and being on the week of Old Home Week. At that same time, we have the boat show
Right.
and we also have the craft fair.
Yes.
Does that seem confusing to you for people?
I don't think it's confusing on my end.
Mhm.
So the 5K race has been like an anchor program.
Mhm.
It's been here since I've been here and I've been here 31 years. So it's been a long standing thing.
Mhm.
It.
No, I know it
yeah,
has.
And the craft fair was always the same weekend and that's a very small craft fair compared to Castleberry.
Yeah, I've witnessed it for over 22 years, to 25 years. And I've noticed a very big increase in traffic volume at the same time to try to get in at the same time to see the boats or to try to get into the craft fair while people are running and then the roads get shut down.
Right. I
Just
think,
something to think of, just
Yeah.
for thought.
I think the boat show is more popular recently than it had been in the past.
Mhm.
Definitely. I have seen it increase.
And I think we're starting to see a higher volume of people down there and a little more confusion or trying to get in and out of town. Because it maybe it's something food for thought,
Okay.
for in the future is to timing, maybe,
Okay.
just a thought.
Sounds good.
That's all I've got. Any other questions or anything from the board?
No, I'm good.
Because I remember the initial impetus for requesting this information was a concern that perhaps we were short of programs for kids.
Mhm.
When I look at this, and of course, there's no details here, but Looks like there's plenty for kids to do.
Yeah, there's more here than I had anticipated, that I thought originally that I had seen on the list. There's more here that, and it seems like there's quite a few participants in most of it.
Yes.
And it looks like it's building up for next year too, so there's gonna be a lot more going on.
Right.
I think just to add on, based on our conversation today, her initiative with reaching out to the surrounding communities. Because part of the issue with some of the trips is one, the number of volunteers. And two, the participation to make the trip worthwhile. Not that we're trying to make money off of it, but you know, to source transportation and to source volunteers and stuff like that, you know, you need more than 5 seats in the bus. But reaching out, Kelly had let me know that New Durham, which I didn't know, that New Durham actually has their own bus that they purchased. It's New Durham, right?
No, they use the school's bus.
Oh, they use the
Yeah.
school's bus, but they have an arrangement with them.
My town
To-
has its own bus.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
have,
yeah, okay.
Nice.
But, you know, being able to combine efforts with smaller communities to fill those seats
Mhm.
and to get all the things and combine their efforts with volunteers in both areas to see these trips through, I think is a good way to push, because I think it is hard, you know, we had to cancel
Also a good
some.
way for them to get extra funding for their trips that they need in their buses. and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Right.
That's the 2024 plan, is to
Mhm.
try to
yes.
mingle it a little bit
Right.
more.
So if there's seats available on the New Durham bus, Alton people would be invited to participate.
Oh.
We'd have a certain amount and we'd send our staff, we'd have a ratio that we would have to send
How
staff.
about senior citizens?
Yeah.
For senior citizen, I've also had people telling me that a lot of the senior citizens aren't able to get downtown because of the traffic.
Okay,
So is there something maybe that we could think more about for, to advertise for senior citizens to have busing to get them down?
Do we,
Because I don't think we have anything.
do we have does Parks and Rec have like a fund to account where they can take in donations?
yes, we have
and
a
whatnot?
recreation revolving fund.
So, well, I mean, if they had if their own, if the town had its own bus, that they could say, well, today we're taking kids to the whale's tail and
Right.
tomorrow we're taking the seniors to the
Right.
casino for the day.
Right,
It's all revenue for you guys, but it's stuff that everybody can do and enjoy
Again, it's
everything.
something else to think about, because I know I've been told by more than one person that they were concerned about senior citizens getting down
okay.
in the bay because there was no parking.
Oh, okay.
There wasn't any parking and they couldn't get down there. So that's something that we need, I think, should think about.
Okay, would you want me to look into like a vehicle purchase with like a small bus?
Probably
for
vehicle
in the future?
purchase versus what it would cost to have,
What do we?
To rent a bus.
rent the
to-
bus from
Even for the
first
week.
week or
Okay.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right?
'Cause
That
it
week,
is-
I believe.
There's enough, I think if you get enough interest in it,
Mhm.
that you could definitely set up some trips and whatnot where you could pretty easily fill a
I-
bus with people to go.
I think you would have a lot of people that'd be interested in senior citizens in the area
Yeah, I think.
or any of these programs to be able to do. And so
So I
it's-
know the CAP program does offer senior trips and they have a bus. I don't know if that's for the county or how that works, but I can talk to Amy about that.
Can we
Okay.
rent buses from the school? Can we?
That's what I was just asking.
We'd have to talk to, that's all through First Student, so we'd have to talk to First Student to see what, I think, yeah, I
You
think
gotta
they,
outweigh the cost
I
of the
think you could
bus.
source a bus and a driver from the company.
Right.
Right.
To,
See that we get our own Molly the trolley.
I just think it would give the townspeople more options to go do things and give Kelly more of a broader,
Yeah,
here to go
Sure.
do different things.
I just think it's important as well, like you. And that's why I mentioned about senior citizens, but
Okay,
you know, I'm joking about Molly the trolley, but it works. I mean,
Right.
during the summer months and later spring and early fall or anything like
Okay.
that.
Well, I know,
Things like that to have little,
I also know that like when you come in, like as a Parks and Rec director, you call down and to someplace like the Red Sox and they'll give you good deals on because you're a town and you can take a busload of people to
right.
Red
To all
Sox
kinds of things.
games or to a Red Sox game that sometimes some people may not be able to afford if they had to do it on their own, you know?
Right.
Because of the discounted price. I mean, I just think it gives people opportunity. to-
there are resorts that do that as well. A lot up north, a lot of them advertise buses go up and bring
Okay.
people to different things. It's just something to look into.
Are you primarily interested in renting a bus or in leasing a bus?
I think we look at both the options and see
Okay.
what we,
let's look at renting and what it would cost.
And when you say bus, do you mean like a 50, 60 passenger bus, or do you mean like a
Yes,
24?
Yeah, because I think you
Yeah,
could fill
definitely.
it. I
Okay.
really do think you.
That'll
could.
fill up.
Okay,
Greyhound,
that's good.
Huh?
Greyhound.
They do that too.
We took one, that's what we
They
did.
do that. That's where
We did it for the
resorts.
Red Sox game and the thing was packed.
There was the Indian Head up in Lincoln. And they used to, the Beacon Resort up in Lincoln, they would do that. They would advertise
Okay.
and it would be full Greyhound buses, loads of people that would go up
And
to
it's
these. And they go to Foxwoods too. And they would have different things like that. It's all things to think about.
I appreciate your feedback. Those are great ideas. Thank you.
I would definitely go to Foxwoods.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Saying.
On the record.
On the record.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you,
Kelly.
That was a good report. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, MS 535.
All right, this is just for the board to go ahead and look through. These are our reporting requirements with New Hampshire DRA. The MS 535 is last year's voted appropriations and actual expenditures. This is all done through the auditing process. In the end report, we do need to the board's agreeance to sign it and send it back in. If you want to look at one of the things that would, I mean, it all probably interest you, but
It does.
also the last page there, or page 10 and 9, or excuse me, 9 of 10. Shows you your end fund balance and beginning fund balance for the general fund. So we're up over 4.3 million now.
Yeah, we're up.
That's
Good, significantly. So we are not, you know, for the public's benefit, without being able to look at this form right now, we are not depleting our surplus at all. It's still currently growing
Yes, it is.
at a decent rate.
That's a
What we
significant
want.
rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're in a very good position. And we did do, if you recall, we did do a lot out of surplus funds
Yeah.
at the end of the year that was needed. We didn't just go on a spending spree, but we did a lot of the repairs to town hall. And some of the other projects, some equipment stuff we bought out of surplus instead of trying to carry that over into the future tax burden for the
It helps.
the townspeople. So
That's
It's all helps.
when I looked at that earlier, I was like,
Yeah,
Not bad.
it's impressive. Yep. Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much.
so is the board all set with, we all set with submitting that,
Yeah.
signing?
Yes.
Back?
Consensus okay with that? Or you want to vote on that?
No, consensus is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The numbers can't change. I mean, that's part of the audit, so.
Right, the numbers are the
No,
numbers.
no, that's, yeah, it looks good.
It's in the folder. Okay. Just making sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, DPW, authorization of the sale of the surplus vehicle equipment.
Mr. Kinman, how you doing?
Didn't even see you sitting over there.
What happens when you get into the schoolroom setting?
Because he changed sides. of
I learned in my lot earlier years where to sit. It was in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were in line with that chair. Couldn't see you.
Right.
Well, he was on the wrong side of the room. He's normally over there.
Yeah, he is. He's usually
Yeah.
over here.
In all honesty, usually you're in a highway shirt. I like the relaxed look. Looks.
Thank you.
Good going.
Thank you.
Gotta find out why he's so plain.
Yeah, what's up?
First time-
Incognito, they call it.
That might be the scary part.
First time in a while, I've seen him with an orange vest on.
I'm sorry?
First time in a while, I haven't seen you with an orange vest on.
Yeah, I know. That's true. It's nice to be able to take it off. So I put together a memo. We have some items that have been identified through the mechanic supervisor relative to some replacements that we've done and such to liquidate some assets that we have relative to some vehicles which are not roadworthy to us. They may be to others, but not to us. And a couple other surplus items that have been there for quite some time and are in need of repair and or are not worthy of repair. So just looking to get permission from the board to go ahead and list those on municipal bid and go ahead and liquidate those and return any proceeds to the general fund.
Okay, I have no issue with this.
Yeah, I'll make a motion
Voting.
to,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to allow the DPW director to place items 1 through 5 on municipal bid with the funds being returned to the general fund.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Super. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
I don't know if I'm next in line. My next.
No, you're coming
Oh,
up
geez.
in old business.
Does this? He likes to just.
I-
Hop around.
Change it up a little bit.
I mean, wondering if.
Can't leave yet.
Yeah, I
Go
mean,
back to the back of the classroom.
no food.
You gotta sit down just for a few minutes.
Like a Reese's?
Popcorn.
Would you like a Reese's? Would you
No,
like
no.
them?
Well, Todd says.
You're gonna have a little bit of humor in these selectmen's meetings.
That's right.
No, no, I'm good. Thank you very much. So-
Todd says
All
you
right.
talk so much, so you didn't want to be behind you all. the
Okay.
time, so you wanted to get to the front.
Police Department purchase pistol and optics request.
Not to throw you under the bus. Not to throw you under the bus, but
Whole rooms full of police chiefs. I'd watch your mouth.
I know.
How's it going, chief?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. How you doing, Chief?
Doing great. You have a proposal in front of you to purchase pistols and optics. When we first considered doing this, we looked at just getting the optics and getting them installed in our current firearms, but the cost of getting them milled proved to be pretty more expensive than I expected. I have it broken down there in the memo.
Mhm.
It was about $180 to do that. And then if we take our current pistols and trade them in based upon that credit, we'd be paying out $212 for a pistol. So the cost is pretty close, and then we get an upgraded pistol. These are not particularly old, but they have been out in the weather for, I think it's 5 years we've had them. So based upon that, my recommendation would be to go ahead and trade these in. Another factor that impacts is any warranties that Glock might have. If we're doing aftermarket milling on the pistols and something that were to happen, they may not honor it. So this would be coming direct from the manufacturer, which would be the added benefit. So in total, I'd be ordering 22 total cost, or the net cost of $12,744.76. The other part that this assists with, if we try to mill them, I could only do 1 or 2 at a time, wait for it to come back, reissue pistols.
Mhm.
So the logistics of it would be pretty challenging to do it that way. So I felt that it was a pretty fair thing. For those that don't know, the red dot is basically a small little window that sits on top of the pistol. It gives you a red dot. It's a lot easier to get target acquisition and be accurate compared to your regular iron sights. It's really become a very popular thing in law enforcement. I listed a couple of agencies here, Guilford, Sanborn, Center Harbor. I believe Gilmanton just got them too. It just improves accuracy. And of course, if we ever have to use it, we want to be accurate.
I know you've done some investigating on this. This is the gun that everybody seems to
Yeah, so-
favor.
Everybody likes the
This-
Glock.
So
Nick,
this
Nick,
would
I
be-
have a couple.
I do too.
The only
Two.
difference,
SWAT team uses them.
Yeah.
too.
we're going from a Glock 19 to the Glock 45.
Mhm.
The numbers are sort of inconsequential. It's the same pistol. It's just got a little bit of a bigger grip on it.
Right.
And so like my small hands are not a big deal, but you've got somebody like a Sean Sullivan having a little bit more
Mhm.
space.
Something
and
to
it's
wrap
not
it
gonna-
around.
It's not going to affect mine. So so it is a different model, but it's the same gun. It's just literally the grip is a little bit longer.
Very good.
Now, these
service
optics would
pieces.
only be on the pistols. Do you have any on any of the other firearms?
Yeah, we have them on the rifles and we have, I think ever since we first got them.
So everybody's had an experience with it and they like the red dot
Right, correct.
optics.
And then the members that are on the SWAT team, the original SWAT team, have those pistols now. And so they are talking about how much it's improved their shooting. And I personally have not experienced it, but just with the rifle, I mean, it's incredible how where that dot is where the bullet goes. So it's much more accurate than trying to level out your gun and trying to line up your iron sights. And the iron sights will still be there. So if there's for some reason some sort of failure,
Sure, you still have that
the
option.
the opportunity.
Yeah,
But
have good luck with the Holson optic is as a duty optic.
in the holster?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the holsters that we have actually accommodated, so there's kind of see it. But it just basically has a little bit of a outside thing. It
Right,
comes up.
yeah.
This cover over here keeps it from getting fouled up with gunk and all that.
Yep.
And it'll kick it right out.
Yep.
When you pull it out. We went with this particular model. Glock offers 3, as I understand it, for what they manufacture with. And this is really the cheaper one, but why we went with it is it's fully enclosed. So some of the other ones can get the gunk that blocks the light from coming out. And then also it has they call it shake awake. It's a kind of a weird term, but basically it's off when you're not using it. but as you move it, it'll kick it on. That saves battery life. It says it's rated for like 50,000 hours. The other thing that this one does is it has a side mounted battery versus the other ones where you actually have to dismount the thing to get the battery out. So I could change it without having to do a gunsmith type thing. So
Are all the officers in favor of that gun?
yes, I have
Anyone?
a single complaint.
Not one, huh? And as far as a credit, you're getting 5,649.
That's total for
For the trade.
21 we traded, correct.
So you're looking for a total of $12,744.76.
Correct.
I'll make a motion.
I was just gonna do it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't know if there was any more discussion. That's all. You have any?
Oh,
questions?
You'll have some after
That's
you.
fine. You want to make a motion? Go ahead.
Mr.
Anyone,
Eddie?
either one of you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the purchasing of 22 new firearms for the police department with a total of $12,744.76.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Todd.
Looks like you stay right there. Oh, no, we have one more thing.
Yep.
Oh,
Don't go far though.
don't go too far.
Yeah, you can sit there.
You could stay right there. Number 7, housekeeping.
Website.
That's you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Hey, I just had a couple of things there I wanted to mention. I wonder if we could get our website listings reviewed for the various boards and commissions. There are 2 that I saw that haven't been updated. There may be others because I'm not familiar with all of the boards. And I understand that only Josh is the guy that can tweak those things. So, and he's probably got a million other things to do, but when people go and look on the website, they see names for people who are no longer involved, that probably suggests that we're not up to snuff. And also at the same time, if possible, we've got a couple of boards and commissions where the date that the individual listed his term or her term wraps up is listed there. That's valuable information if it can be added as we do this, or can be added at some point.
You're talking about the terms for the selectmen, for all the trustees
boards.
and stuff, right?
All boards, every boards and committees.
I understand.
Yeah, there's some of the
some are
boards that are
retired,
listed, others are not, but if we could add it would be
Do you-
good.
Can I just ask, do you have some specific ones that you, as far as being updated?
Yeah, the 2 that I noticed were the Conservation Commission and the Budget Committee.
Okay, well, I suspected the budget committee was one, just so you know, the budget committee hasn't met yet this year.
No, I understand.
So we're trying, they're trying to, oh, okay. I forgot you were on it.
I joined the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is supposed to be there. I know Stacy has been putting out emails to organize that because the official meeting of this year to kick things off needs to be a restructuring, which will affect that listing, because then it'll shuffle the deck as to who's got what roles, who's the chairman and stuff like that. But we're hoping to do that very soon
Yeah.
with that one, but I'll check on conservation because that should be up to date. They meet pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So.
And then the other thing I was going to ask about is I noticed what we all do after the meeting, we descend on Ryan to ask him about all the town projects and how they're going. And I wonder if you would be willing or to consider to add to your town manager's report a brief summary of the projects that are underway and where they stand and when they might be finished. I suspect you know it all right off the top of your head.
Most of it. I can't remember all the projects that are going on, but I can remember all the stuff that's going on here in town hall. We'll figure that one out, but I don't know if Andy wants me to increase my TA report, but I'd be happy to.
Yeah, we have been asking usually about once every month or every couple of months, but it would be good to have that at least once a month.
Yeah, and particularly and I don't know how many residents we get that actually watch us on YouTube or whatever, but
Curious what that attendance is.
they'd be interested, I thought.
Okay. Anything else, Richard?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Chief. Police Department, New Hampshire, Office of Highway and Safety Grant.
Yes, this is coming before you every year with this. They award certain amounts depending on how they factored all that out. We're at the same amount as last year, the 10,200 total. This is to perform a variety of different enforcement patrols. There's speed patrols, DWI enforcement, distracted driving, a mobilization called Join the New Hampshire Click, which we're targeting unfastened seatbelts. There's a drive sober or get pulled over initiative. You drive, you text, you pay. Those are the ones we've been awarded into. So the speed enforcement and the DWI, we get to kind of set up and establish based upon our own needs, like when we have concert nights and that sort of thing. The other initiatives are us and all the other agencies that participate are doing them during the same time period, whether it's a week or 2 week span. But these have basically been the same things we've been doing every year for quite a number of years. And the one thing is, if you do approve it, if you could authorize the town administrator to sign the contract,
Yeah.
him and I would both endorse it.
Okay. We have a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to authorize Ryan to sign the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety Grants as we do every year.
In the amount of ten,
Oh, in the amount, I'm sorry, what was it?
10,200.
$10,200.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
I just, as the anti-big government guy, I just couldn't help but notice that there are 30 pages.
Yes.
Requirements and
Yes.
provisions on
Yes.
all with this grant. It's just unbelievable.
I noticed that too. I believe it or not, I tried to read a lot of it. But there's a lot there.
I tried reading it on my phone before I got the. book.
There's a lot
There's a
there.
few.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you, chief. Okay, DPW storm damage update.
So this is the one that hurts you in the pocketbook. Just wanted to give you an update. The memo basically gives you a little bit of an update on the December 2022 disaster declaration, which is 4693. We still have not completed all of that repair work from that declared disaster. We still have, I believe right now, about 4 or 5 roads that still need to be completed. Some of it very minor. On a couple roads, we have a small pavement repair section on one road, which is Hollywood Beach Road. And then we have on both Prospect Mountain Road and on Much Ado Hill Road, some extensive ditching repairs that have to be made. Also grading and graveling. Those have been inspected by FEMA because we were greater than 180 days since the declaration of the disaster. So my understanding is I've got to find out, working with the town administrator, EMD, relative to how much more time we have to complete that work. I met with the Assistant Public Works Director and the foreman, basically just trying to, go over as to what work we have left to complete. And then how many weeks we have left to be able to complete it in, which is about, and rest of our construction season or work season is probably about 8 weeks. And we're even talking, I just put the first sander in today and everybody's going, what are you talking about? You going? I said, no, it's about getting these things that we have to get ready. I'm teaching a course tomorrow on calibration. So, all of our equipment has to be calibrated. So there's a lot of things that go on. It just doesn't stop just because of these other functions. So needless to say, we want to get those things buttoned up. I need to find out if I can extend some of that repair period. Because I really don't want to put fresh gravel down in November, only to have not a good freezing winter and then plow it back off and put it in the ditches. So I need to figure that piece out relative to that part of it. The July storms still have not been, unless Ryan has any update on that, but he hasn't made me aware of any forward motion as of yet. I mean, they were still doing their preliminary assessment
Right.
collections. They've been out, they've looked at a lot of our stuff as well, relative to any declaration for, basically, they were trying to do a window, if I'm correct, like from May till July.
Yeah, there were several floods that month that they're trying to collect all in one. And last I knew, they were still, last time they had called me, they were putting together their presentation for a requested declaration, but we haven't got anything word back on it yet.
Right.
But the December one, that's covered, FEMA's gonna cover that one.
Yes, we have an application in process right now. First category has already been submitted for payment, which is category A. We're working on C now, which is the bigger one for the road infrastructure damage.
Yeah.
A was it debris removal, and that was the initial emergency efforts of the day, but we'll start seeing some return.
Some return on that.
But they haven't declared the July one yet.
No.
That's still under.
Yeah, so I mean, granted, you end up having to float all these expenses until
Right.
you get some form of reimbursement from FEMA. You know, and I always tell people it's 80 cents on the dollar, on a good day. So, we'll see how things go. I just want to give you an update on the December stuff. I feel fairly confident in talking with Courtney and Jack that, things are, we're moving forward. I mean, keeps raining, but, we keep moving forward. I have a culvert that has to be replaced before winter, so I can get Avery Hill Road repaved in that section. They completed putting in over 400 feet of under drain in that area. So at least that part of it's done. Now I need to be able to put this culvert in, but I need it to stop raining in order to do that.
Is that the 48-inch
Yes,
culvert that you're referring to here?
right.
That's all.
So that's a July storm damage. So, once again, I just wanted to make you aware of some of these expenses that are hitting right now, the highway operating budget. Now granted, we're down, overall in public works 4 full-time positions. So, there's a little bit of, robbing Peter to pay Paul here because we're not expending it on wages. So you're expending it purchasing gravel and culvert pipes and pavement and those types of things in hopes that you're going to get some money back. I wanted to make sure I make you aware of it because you're going to see a line item that's going to be grossly over expended. And it's in the reconstruction emergency account, which I believe Ken had in there from years ago for this purpose, and it's always carried $1 in there. So I've reallocated and worked with finance and Becky to try to make sure that any expenses have been directed now at that line. So that way you'll be able to see that and budget committee will say, well, how come you spent, $100,000 in gravel, but you were only budgeted, 15, and so we can hopefully clear up any of those discrepancies that way. Our paving contractor has been excellent as far as coming in and really taking an aggressive, I asked them to come in and I said, we don't have the staff, we don't have the manpower in order to make these pavement repairs. Once we made the initial repairs to the roadway and the ditch lines, then they've come in and made all the other pavement repairs. And just for, your information and so you can inform the public and such is that, we, in my opinion, we repaired these correctly. So instead of just, repairing the 1 or 2 feet that goes into the roadway, we've done the lane basically in that section so that, we don't because I don't know when I'd ever get back to some of these roads. Then some of them aren't scheduled to have some repaving done or other kinds of pavement treatments for some time. So, or they've just been done, like Rand Hill, Bay Hill,
Mhm.
some of these other ones. So we wanted to make sure that they were going to be right and they were going to hold up. So
Is
and
it-
I did cover that with FEMA as well. Not to say that we didn't have a lively discussion about it, but I told them, I said, it's about doing things right and protecting our infrastructure. So.
As far as you're talking about the paving going, where they made larger repairs than necessary.
Yep.
Did you guys go out and look at all the repairs that they made, that they did?
Yep.
And everything was within it's supposed to be? I mean, I know you said that they kind of stepped up to the plate and helped us out quite a bit, but they're obviously charging us for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah, I
definitely.
mean, they didn't
No
do
question,
anything,
yeah.
there's nothing for free here. So,
Yeah.
they charged me a per square yard preparation. So they basically ground out each of those areas. And then they went ahead and based those back in.
Were they doing the shouldering too?
And they didn't do the shouldering. No, we were going back to clean those things up. We've cleaned up most of those. As it stands right now, we still got a couple other ones that we need to go and finish up. We still have the upper part of Bay Hill that we have to finish that up. We're basically trying to get that entirely rip-wrapped back up through there. As much as I don't like erosion stone, is that Mother Nature doesn't like not giving us as much water. I mean, well, they're giving us too much water.
How much more?
Sorry.
Yeah.
And so I've got to do something to armor things that way.
You got
When is the
approximately-
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, after you.
You have approximately 14 roads left to.
Yeah,
on.
approximately. I think when I did this, it was about 14. There's a few that have been probably knocked off since then. As we've been marching around, been trying to afford some people some time off so that they can have some time with their families. They haven't had virtually much time, if any, off all summer. So with having a limited crew, been trying to afford them a little bit of time off as well, and then try to keep things rolling.
Mhm.
Basically keeping almost right now, I have at least 2 excavators that are running pretty much 4 days a week in doing these repairs. So, and at times having 3 when I have enough staff to be able to do that. We have, I just want to give you this kind of a breakdown, just so you have an understanding. And if people are, questioning why either some things, we have triage things, we continue to shuffle the deck. As it goes forward, there's some areas that haven't been touched. Once again, it's because other areas are either more urgent or there's other things that have ended up having to come in and be taken over as priority. We have a pretty good, the town beach was devastated,
Yes.
and I feel bad about that, but that's a different situation there. We're going to have to address that at some point, but I've got to make sure that the other drainage is squared away and
Mhm.
repaired before I invest
We
in
get
the
into that.
beach, because the drainage above failed and because it got filled up with stone and gravel and rocks, and that's what washed the beach out. So, I got to take care of the other stuff before I get down there. So just in case, I know the board, gets, approached by the public.
Oh, we
Sometimes
do.
they don't come and see me.
We do.
I do appreciate the board members that have reached out individually and inquired. They've been very supportive through the whole process, and greatly appreciated by the staff. And I appreciate you reaching out and asking the questions, and that way it's been very, very.
Oh, thank
I don't
you
know if I
for
can speak for
everything that you've
everybody
done.
here, but you guys have really, it was not an easy summer on you guys, and even being down 4 people. I don't know if I can speak for everybody here,
And
but nothing, you
done a
guys
lot
did
of work.
great.
And
Yeah.
we got winter coming.
Unbelievable.
So you've had a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
it's appreciated, and everybody, and we notice it. And
Yeah, it's a full court press now. We're trying to get things, hopefully buttoned up enough, so we'll be all set for winter and go into winter and be ready. We're concerned about winter, being short-staffed, but I think that once again, the team down there all comes together and rallies. They really do. And it's just to understand, the public, we'll probably be doing some awareness as we go forward into the winter season, that, potentially by being down these positions, that it will extend plow routes, and it will potentially can have an impact on winter maintenance overall. We don't want it to. And once again, we are coordinating, as I mentioned, Courtney and I, we try to meet daily and talk about these different challenges that we actually have and then how we're going to try to, work towards those, as we go into the winter between her staff and other staff within the Public Works group, which has been great by pulling everybody together, that there's been good communication and collaboration that way. We know that we're going to end up having to use some personnel from grounds and maintenance to help us with road maintenance as well as doing, their regular duties as far as the buildings and parking lots. We know that, as able to, the water department, which has been there as well, that they'll they'll be helping us out as much as
Working
they
well
can.
together.
So, but I want to give you an update. I wanted you to know about the budget, on that side of it. I hope that we can, that it's all covered within the operating budget that way, and you don't have to dip into your coffers that way but I think in talking with the town administrator, he feels confident that we'll be able to hopefully be able to carry this within this year's operating budget.
Some of this stuff's out of your control, isn't it?
It's
Nothing you can do
most of
about
it, yeah.
You're also looking for approval from the board for
Oh, yes.
town administrator to work with you on the 2023 and 2024 payouts.
Right, yeah, there will be some staff that, as you know, as people have longevity in the positions in which they have there, they also have, have the ability to take additional time, because they build the time up, and if they don't take the time, then they lose the time. So in some of these circumstances with some personnel, I'd like to just make sure that I had the authorization of the board to work with the town administrator to go ahead and make those decisions on a case by case basis. That way, we've been trying to afford people some time off. But clearly they haven't been able to take all the time that they would have taken, to go camping and.
In my opinion, that's employee retention. That's what it's
Right.
for. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
if they stayed when they weren't supposed to, when they could have taken their vacation, that's the people we want.
Right.
So why would we possibly deny them something like that?
And
when they went
especially,
out of their way?
especially this year, because they
Absolutely not.
really
you know.
didn't have a choice.
Oh, I'm on board.
It was all
With
hands on
that,
deck.
I will make a
board with
motion
that.
right now to approve the
Absolutely.
town administrator to work with the DPW director for the direction of the employee vacation carryover from 2023 to 24 and authorize the payout should funds be available to do so.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank to everybody down there.
yeah, absolutely. Been a hard summer.
Yes, it has. Okay, zero turn mower purchase. So you stay right there.
Thank you. This memo here is more of a housekeeping. We had a few evolutions that happened earlier in the spring relative to trying to buy a zero turn mower. And we also had the situation where we ended up having to buy a van. And then we also had to buy a pickup truck. So we had a lot of we had a couple big capital purchases that hit the grounds and maintenance vehicle and equipment line.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, we really didn't have enough money to buy what we wanted with that high end, more of a high end commercial zero turn mower, which was going to be in the excess. And we went out to bid for it, and we did have a bidder, but unfortunately, there's not enough funds in order to cover that. So in lieu of that, what I did was I went to a lower grade unit. I say a lower grade, not the full commercial situation there. We still have that good commercial zero turn, which is working well right now. So we have now taken that and just utilizing that pretty much exclusively for the ball fields as much as possible. And then utilizing two other zero turn mowers for doing our other mowing in town, for in-town mowing of properties and parks, and then also in the cemetery. So we've got two of these other units that are we purchased here locally from Obashan's, and they have worked out very well. So basically what I'd looking to do is do a little bit of housekeeping at the same time as being able to also make sure that I could do the funding allocations from the appropriate reserve funds in order to kind of clean up the finance piece of it for the purchase of the two units.
So you purchased the two Husqvarna
Correct.
18 horse.
Yep. Yeah, and one will be, we use them, we've got one set up to be used at the cemetery and one to be, we commingle our equipment a little bit, but we try to keep one more exclusively to the cemetery just because of that perpetual care fund and such there.
Will you be trading? So will you be trading these other pieces of equipment in, or what
Yeah,
happens to
we'll
these
look
pieces of
to,
equipment?
I've asked the grounds and maintenance supervisor there, Brian, to actually go through and look at those other mowers that are at the cemetery and see about doing those with municipal as well. There's at least one that was purchased within the last year or so that we would just keep as that being that backup unit. Has a bagging unit on it.
Is that the John Deere?
I'm sorry.
Both John Deere's,
Yeah.
those two.
And then to be able to keep that, at least one of those units, at least that's what I'm thinking right now, but I asked him to go through them and see if there was any other maintenance issues that were there.
You had talked about light staffing. Do we have the staffing to be able to utilize these new pieces of equipment?
Yeah, actually what they've actually done, because we have been down one staff member with grounds and maintenance, this has actually made it far more efficient with their mowing. So they've been actually able to mow a lot quicker and don't have nearly as much weed whacking and those types of things to be done because they can maneuver in and around with this. These are smaller deck mowers, but they are zero turns. And they say that they've cut their time, which has helped them out to be able to accomplish what they need to
How
accomplish.
long have you had these?
We've had them now we had one for probably almost all summer. Or just, I guess it was probably at the beginning of the summer, late June.
Okay.
And then we just got the last one here around beginning of August.
These have baggers on them.
Both of these units do
Do not.
not have baggers. They have mulchers. We have bought mulching kits with them.
Okay.
So we've tried to get away from bagging
Mhm.
as much as possible.
Okay.
Other than when you end up having that springtime,
Mhm.
start of the year on that side
They're
of.
open.
Yeah,
These are open cart.
yeah, they're regular.
Yeah, I saw one just the other day.
So
All right.
I did put together what I think is gonna hopefully clean up things here, just as far as the funding allocation recommendation there that will get things in the right pots there as far as the funding. If the board's agreeable.
Purchase some two more 18.
1,090.
Seems like a win-win.
I guess it does.
Yeah. I think so.
All right, so I make a motion that we authorize the Public Works Director to purchase the two Husqvarna 18 horsepower zero turn mowers from G&M Vehicle and Equipment in the amount of $3,099.99 from there, and the Cemetery Perpetual Care Trust account at $32.99.99, and authorize the decommissioning and sale via municipal bid for the remaining pieces of equipment.
We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
It's up here still.
You still got one more. Revision to highway policies, section 10.5 and 16.
Okay. I don't know if Jessica wants to come up too, but kind of goes in concert with all of her work and her group or committee.
Come on up, Jess.
committee's group work. That she definitely has helped me out tremendously in this situation here, because even though this was a kind of a item that was a work in progress, apparently a little while ago, that Jessica and I kind of maybe knew about a little bit, because John had been kind of working on a little bit of this as far as refining some of the stuff, which is actually within the highway policy itself. But certainly a lot of it came to light relative to her work and her committee's work in regards to the short-term rental work that she's been doing. So with her help, we identified these portions within the highway regulations here to do a little bit of housekeeping and clean this up.
Okay.
So everything will be uniformed going across the board. And also will all the same forms, applications will be consistent for her work that she does with land use, and anything that you folks do, of course, with all of your permitting that you do for some of the roads that aren't class 5, that the class 6s and private roads, and also the island roads that are out there as well, or island properties. So I don't know, I have put all this in a nice little packet here that Jessica was great to help me do all the due diligence. I think I made one track change out of the whole thing, and she put the good work into it, and from what John had put some of it together, and then we were able to get it all squared away here. But I don't know if the board has any questions. This is something that has been pretty much there. I mean, it just needs to be refined and accepted, and then kind of put in place.
Where were the changes?
So
That you already applied?
the first change actually is in 10.5.
10.5.
10.5 actually makes the first reference, which is in what they call the general conditions section in section 10, which hits a lot of different areas. And one of them is in fact in regards to the issuance of building permits, and it makes reference to this, and makes reference to the responsibility and liability waivers that are necessary for construction on class 6 roads initially, and then now private roads and island roads. And then, so with that, out of that, to give it a more defined, so that people understand what the full definition of that is, that evolved into what is highway policy section number 16, which is this next section, which is will be a completely new so-called page that will be there, which basically lists the steps going down through in regards to the procedure that covers all of those requests for building permits on class 6 private roads and island properties. What that process is and what those steps are, basically 1 through 8. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Jessica, but.
So to answer your question, Paul, sort of what changed? So within these documents, because things were sort of in slight disarray, I didn't provide Scott with sort of a redlined type of document, because so much of it changed that it just wouldn't have really been a very readable document.
I see.
So it's presented almost as if it's something new, but it's really just an amendment.
Okay, and that's currently the way it is now. This is the amended.
This is the amended.
The amended copy today with the 10.5 explanation.
Yep. So the stuff that I did for Scott is really just section 16.
16 is all new.
16.
Yeah, this is just to clarify a little bit, just to make sure everybody knows that when we had after we had the discussion after the public hearing, one of the things that needed to go back to legal was the thing about the road waiver. And when we went back to legal originally, legal said, no, you should not have two separate. We were going to do a separate form just for short-term rentals
Mhm.
and acknowledgement. And he recommended, his town council recommended against it, and the email threads would just, and said, no, that you should revise the existing form. So it's one uniform form for everybody who is on class 6 or whatnot. So this has been re-edited and redone through, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this was all done in an email chain
Mhm.
with town council involved.
Okay.
So this has been proofed already.
this
by-
is-
Right,
that's
thoroughly.
Thoroughly
reviewed.
vetted,
Yeah.
yeah.
This has been thoroughly, the whole
The whole packet,
packet
yep,
has been thoroughly
All of it.
gone through
Yep.
by legal counsel.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, really, actually, and Jessica and I talked about it, as far as like the department head review on these situations. Since I've even been here, I mean, we've seen different versions of the review process.
Mhm.
And so we basically had agreed that this was the form that should be used for this. We also have another general form that we use for other reviews by the planning board, by department heads. But this one is more specifically designated for this type of an application. And then all of these forms, like was mentioned, have all been vetted through town council. It makes so much sense to have these all as a uniformed
Absolutely.
form, so this is not that confusion. Anything we can do for the public to keep things from being,
That's confusing.
government's confusing enough. We don't want to complicate it. anymore.
Absolutely.
And so,
No, very good.
Yep.
Very good. Well, thank you.
thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I
good.
think the only thing that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, that we need to just, in order to then allow her to finish her work with the short-term rentals, we want to make sure that this has been formally adopted by the board, so that we can make sure that it's all in place, so that when you do all of your finalization, that you were able to make reference to it. So that there's no conflict. So because if that was 100% approved,
Okay.
then there'd be a conflict right now if we don't clean this
Mhm.
up and keep it the same.
That's why it was recommended that we address them two separate items on the agenda.
Okay. So and this it requires a vote on this as well.
To adopt it. Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt the highway policy, section 16, operating procedures for building permission requests on class 6 private roads and island property.
15.1 too. You gotta do 15.1 too, don't you?
So I'm sorry,
You have to do 10.5 too.
I think it's the whole thing.
Oh, it is the whole thing?
It means the
I thought
whole,
it was two
the whole
separate.
packet.
I thought
No.
it was two
no,
separate.
the other
things.
thing that's separate is short-term rentals.
Yeah.
That's separate.
Okay,
So,
my mistake.
yep, do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, Richard? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Jessica.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Bet.
Jessica's still here.
Yes. No. That's what I said. Thank you, Jessica, and she's staying.
Yeah, Jessica's staying.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Thank you very much. All right.
Needs backup. Gone.
Okay,
He bailed already.
He bailed.
okay, Jessica, short-term rental process approval.
Hey.
So this went through, again, this went through town
Yes.
attorney.
So I just wanted to go over,
Mhm.
just a few changes that have taken place.
Okay,
I did receive some more, input from residents.
Mhm.
After I was here last, so I'd like to share some of the concerns. I've integrated them into my copy, so I'm just gonna kind of go over
Okay.
and point you guys to the right direction. So
thank you.
a few of the concerns, one was the amount of the fee that the town was requiring. It felt that it was, too low.
Which was 150.
Yep, considering, the number of people and staff that are
Mhm.
involved, in the time frame. So, a suggestion is to increase it to 250
Mhm.
from 150.
Okay.
So that's that. The next, two issues are kind of lumped into one. So I'm suggesting that you guys consider in addition to the regulations on page 3 with the addition of a number 21.
Page 3. 21, okay.
Yep, and I'll read it to you. So there were concerns, that kind of, we didn't do enough to address the multiple people that may arrive at a short-term rental throughout the day. Like, for instance, like people having major parties. Lots of people, that's taking place, numerous times throughout the year with different renters coming in and out all year long. So the questions that have been posed to me is, well, what's the difference between that and a regular residential home owner, having a party? So, my analogy is, a normal homeowner isn't having large parties like that with multiple people.
Every week.
But yeah.
Every week,
Like,
yeah.
so, right. As compared to, short-term rentals. There have been a lot of instances which I started tracking all of the complaints that are coming in
Yes.
that have that multiple people, multiple times a year. So I'm suggesting that we add an addition of a number 21 that says, I understand that the number of unregistered guests can be no more than the number of registered renters / occupants to ensure that septic systems function properly, that the unregistered guests shall only be allowed on the premises between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., which coincides with the noise ordinance. And that this shall be disclosed to renters and posted where renters can clearly see it, so that they're aware of,
That makes total sense.
a limit. Because I feel like if that's not addressed, then we're really not addressing one of the root problems that we've heard from people over the last 2.5 years with
Overloading
complaints.
septic systems.
Overloading septic systems is a huge concern.
I thought that there were no unregistered guests allowed on the, like, so that we didn't have the party problem. I thought they weren't allowed a bunch
So
of
we
unregistered
didn't,
guests.
that has not been addressed.
What we had was just so many people per bedroom
Right.
that could stay overnight.
It's the registered guests that we clarified already.
Talking about other people.
Yeah, so are
Yep.
we, what is the, I just wanted to understand it the right way. So how many guests are we allowing them to have that are not registered?
So it would depend on the number of registered guests. So say a 3-bedroom, you could have a total of 8 registered guests. So 2 per bedroom
Yeah.
plus 2 people. So you have 8. So you could have 8 guests.
8.
So you could have a total of 16
Yeah,
people.
so a total of
From
16.
7 to 11, but the 8 original guests are the only ones that could stay overnight per the septic loading. If you use
So
a
the
3-bedroom.
No, I
additional
know, I
8
under-
people
Yep.
would not be allowed to stay after 11.
No,
PM.
I understand. I get where you're coming from, but a lot of people have come up here and talked about the short-term rental thing is these people renting these houses for parties specifically. So even if you allow these people, all these extra guests to be able to come to this house, it's not going to stop the problem of them still throwing these parties during the day. So is this, I thought the short-term rental, this was put in place so that people would not abuse the fact of, having parties at these rental houses. So why are we allowing them to have unregistered guests at all? We had somebody come in here and talk about a beach a couple weeks ago. This is the kind of things that I think is going to be, may end up being a long-term problem. Why are we allowing them unregistered guests at all? The whole point of the short-term rental is to go on vacation with your family or to go on vacation with your friends that are registered in the house, not to be able to invite over a bunch of other people and have them flood the house. Because you got to, again, you're talking about having extra people in the house. What happens to the cars during the day? They're going to get parked on the street. The, taxpayers are going to be calling saying, all right, well, there's, you're talking about 2 extra people per bedroom.
Mhm.
If they come in one car, the 2 people, that's great. But if they all come in separate cars, You're talking about an overabundance of all these things, you know, that are gonna come into play with this. I'm not really if I'm on board with allowing them any extra added guests on top of what they're already supposed to only have in the house. I mean, I don't know what everybody else is feeling.
Technically, what's supposed to happen is them renting out the property to the people with so many bedrooms.
With
and
so many people.
allowed.
Yeah.
In period end. The problem was we never did really discuss that factor of people being invited to come over.
How, I
and
don't
overloading.
believe, again, you're talking about unregistered guests, so
They're
these
all in
people
registered
can,
guests.
well, these people can rent this house. And the homeowner or the property manager may not be aware that these people are here and using the facilities, you know, the beaches are using the facilities that are supplied by the homeowner. And now you're talking about, okay, well, they trashed the beach. It was an unregistered guest. Oh, well, I mean, who's going to be responsible for
Well,
that?
the people that are renting the property are responsible. So if there's something that's trashed or something goes wrong, those people that are renting are responsible, and then that.
And you know
in turn,
exactly what's
that
going
goes to the manager or the owner.
you know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to turn into a he said, she said, bunch of a big mess. So I don't know what everybody else's feeling is, but I mean, I thought the whole purpose of this short-term rental was for these people to rent the house and go on vacations with their friends and family.
It is.
Not throw secondary parties at these people's houses. You know what I mean? That either A, the people that own the house or the property manager does not know about. I mean, you're talking about there's a lot of, you know, a lot of different things for this. You know, you can have those people, you're talking about the 8 extra people
Oh, yeah, right.
cycling out during the day. So you may have 8 and then bam, they're cycling out another 8. I mean, it's
We
just
can
thrown out.
easily not allow it.
I don't think we should.
Or, like I said, in a lot of instances, unless people are doing it privately. And a lot of these companies that they do their rentals through have rules that are followed anyway. And one of the rules usually is not to have large parties, if that's what the person who owns the place. But if you feel as though that this, and I agree with you 100%, this is intended to rent to the people at hand for so many bedrooms, not large.
We should
parties,
not,
large guests.
I'm trying to
Shouldn't
get
allow it at all.
the point I'm trying to get across is these people are going to start renting these houses to throw their kids, you know, 16th parties or whatever, 21st birthday parties. It's going to turn into a mess, in my opinion. You know, if we start allowing these people to throw these big parties, like I understand, I get it. It's the person's house. They can rent to who they want, you know, guests, things like that. But at the same point, they got neighbors. Okay. Where everybody that surrounds these people are all taxpayers. You know what I mean? I can't in good conscience say, all right, you guys, you're registered for 8 people. Now you can have another 8 of unregistered guests. You know, now you're talking about till 11 o'clock at night. If it's during a weekday, all the other taxpayers that live here still got to sleep, you know? So that's just my opinion. I don't think
Well,
we should allow any.
parking would
unregistered
definitely be an
guests.
issue.
I don't think we
Extra-
should allow any unregistered.
Extra
guests. That's
parking
just
would
my
be an issue, and that's
opinion.
one of the things that we stipulated that
Brock,
they're on
Like you got a
property.
thought.
On the
I think
property.
you're starting a whole nother problem.
with what you think we should allow them?
Because you know what's gonna happen then is they're gonna stop doing it all together and they're just gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna let you borrow my house. And if you wanna leave me a donation at the end, by all means, go ahead. But it's not a short-term rental anymore. Now it's go ahead and borrow it. Bring your friends over. do
Well,
whatever you
short-term
want.
rental.
There's gonna be,
It's
there's,
intended, Brock, it is intended for people
I
to
understand
rent.
that, but I think you
for
gotta
their
do it
family.
case by case. If there's 25 people on a beach partying and raising hell, that's what we have cops for.
Well, it just happened.
down
It
there.
just happened and they did the
It
best
can
they
happen.
could. It just happened.
I get that. I
Just
just think
happened.
you're.
It's a difficult thing to
It is, it is.
to control. It's going to be almost
Are we-
impossible to control.
Are we able, okay, just hear me out. Are we able to adjust these, Jess? Are we able to adjust these as needed? Okay, if we see certain things in this that don't fit for next year, if we do not allow people to have unregistered guests, or we do, are we able to change these things as we progress? Or is this set in stone as a permanent basis? Is this setting the benchmark permanent, or are we able to change these things
I think it's a
as the
learning
years
curve.
progress?
It's a learning curve, and some things will be adjusted.
Right, so these are your regulations,
Mhm.
so you guys
You
can
can
amend
change
them.
it.
Well, no, I didn't know if it was a,
So if you do put something into place and it doesn't work, you can always amend it.
Mhm.
So this suggestion,
Mhm.
came as sort of, I guess, maybe like a middle ground
it
of
was a good, whoever
of
caught it, it was
not
good.
banning
Well,
it,
no, I
but
mean-
being able to provide for, some guests, but not,
Has been something that's been
Huge
in the back of a lot
parties.
of people's mind. Is
Yeah.
what do you do? Okay, once you have that rental in
Right.
place, and these people are here, they're guests. Now they call up some friends and they call up a few others and they show up. Now that goes back into the category of overloading and
Right.
parking issues.
yep. Yeah, and I do agree with you, Nick. The point of a short-term rental is in place of, you know, a motel room, a hotel room.
Yeah,
Lodge
and I
it, bed
I
and
get what
breakfast.
Brock's saying.
It's-
People are gonna do it anyway. It's
Right.
one of those
It's in
things.
place
I
that's
was
with
gonna
part
that.
of this
And if-
committee that formed
Right.
it, that
If-
formed it. And that was one thing that we had trouble with. But I have to say that I think that I agree with Nick. And we've talked about this once before. It is an issue. We can change it. We can always change it. We can change things along. I have to agree that no extra guests. You're renting it out to the people at hand, whether it's a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, +2.
Well, and to be honest with you, I don't have a dog in the fight because for one, I can't afford a house on the lake to rent out to people.
Me
so
neither.
it doesn't
Me
really
neither.
matter. But for a second, I'm wondering how far this is gonna go before we start deciding how many people can go to your house or your house or your house.
It's not, I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it's a matter of if you drive around the lake, like I'm sure you all have, you know, you're driving up and down the streets, and granted, people buy the properties, they put up the houses they want. I agree. But the family-owned camps, a lot of these family-owned taxpayers that have been in this town for 20-something years and have gone here every year and, you know, stayed by the lake all summer long. Now we're talking about somebody, whether it be a camp or a house, whatever it may be, you're talking about allowing them to have to rent out to all these people when it's been family-owned camps that are next door. I'm not saying everybody's going to do that, but all I'm getting at is they come up here every year. They've been coming up here for years. A lot of the, you know, camps that are on the lake. Now we're going to have a bunch of people coming in, short-term renters. And if we allow them to have in excess of what is already been stipulated by the bedrooms, you know what I mean? We're taking away from Alton being the, you know, small town community. We're gonna.
Here's what philosophy of this. People have been doing it for years. There's been rentals all over the place, but this is one way of controlling it and helping to control it so it doesn't get out of hand. And people want to have rental properties to help offset whatever they need to offset on their property. It's almost impossible to say no. I mean,
Yeah, we're just gonna regulate it as, you know.
This is a regulation. It's a beginning. We got to start somewhere. And I think this is on the right track. I think the whole thing is in the right track, and a couple of these things are going up with the fee is good. I think that's good.
The more I thought about that, the more it made sense, because we do have to
No, I
have
understand
each
what you're saying.
department head go out. It does make sense. to me.
There's no need for these people to rent a house if they're coming up from, you know, from California. They're coming out here to spend a week out here and with their family. That's what it was intended for. An alternative to a hotel or an alternative. They can stay in a home. They have all the accommodations they need, like a condo or a home. They have off-street parking, but they don't need to have all their relatives here at the same time. It's for them. It's their rental. They're paying for it, and they got to follow the regulations.
It's just like it's the same thing as if you get a hotel room. They allow you a maximum amount of guests. I mean, listen, and I'm not Brock. I do agree with what you said.
No,
All I'm saying is that in year one,
Worked on this for
let's
2
see
years.
let's see how it goes with, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get pushback.
Oh,
People
I'm
are
not
be
gonna
upset,
not
but
vote for it. I'm just playing devil's advocate. here.
I
What
agree
you're-
with you.
No,
It
the thing of
may
is-
turn into
the
a
thing of it
problem.
is, in a year's time, if there's that many people that want to change that and we discuss it again, we can.
Fair enough. No, and you're absolutely right. Like I said, I'm not gonna discourage away from it. Like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate because a lot of people spend a lot of money on that. Like,
Absolutely.
Is there anything in our new regulations now that say you can't have guests that are not staying there, be there during the day?
Is there anything in this
Yeah,
short-term rental
short-term.
that says
I
you
mean,
can't?
we got everything spelled out about bedrooms and sleeping and all, but right now. I
So that's
think
what she's asking.
regulation says nothing, which means. you can
Somebody
have
caught this. Yeah, somebody
400
caught it.
people.
No, that was
Perhaps we ought to.
out of
Reduce the
everything.
number, maybe from 8, it goes to 4 or something else. At least it makes the applicant aware
Mhm.
that it's a consideration. Where right now, you could say the applicant say, hey, I'm having a class of 52,
Mhm.
my entire four
Right,
hundred
and we
graduating people.
for the class of
and,
50, exactly.
You know,
Not-
and that's what we're trying to, and that's stopping that.
Not for anything else, but I'm also genuinely curious if we do put this in, put this in play. We have them with no, unregistered guests. Okay. See how the year transpires and how many people don't follow it and say whatever, and how many cases we have where
Right.
these people are doing these unregistered guests versus, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
The people that conform to the rules.
And it's, the problem is the rowdy group that's what's giving.
Well,
us all
that's
the
what
problems.
happens. That's
So
what
they're-
ruins it.
Yeah.
It really
Well,
does.
Parking in your
Yes.
driveway,
Yeah.
parking in his yard.
Yeah.
Walking across your yard.
Everybody just
These are
respect-
these are the abuse
Respect
things.
stuff.
So what do we
There's-
need to put this into play? What's the correct way to do this?
So instead of what I read to you, then number 21 can just state, I understand that unregistered guests are not allowed.
No unregistered guests allowed any hours of the day. That's it.
I think
No, we
that's too
have-
stringent.
We have commercial function facilities in
Mhm.
town that, if people want to come to the lake, they can, take advantage of that.
Right.
And like Nick said, it's really for just that place for your family or, a couple or whoever to go to vacation.
Mhm.
This
Well,
is,
that's-
this is being looked at as a commercial business.
This
So-
has been the
so this
intent
is-
since the beginning.
These homeowners have to pay New Hampshire rooms and meals tax,
Mhm.
unlike,
Mhm.
a homeowner that's renting it out to, a regular individual.
It's
They
not
don't
so,
have to pay that. So this is looked at as, a commercial entity.
it's not so much, my biggest concern was it's not so much the money end of things or the, taxing the septics. It's the other people that live here year round that are gonna have to
Of course.
listen to this
You
stuff.
better look at the residents.
We've had a lot of people, we've had a lot of people come up that have said, oh, they're throwing parties till 11 at
Yes.
1 o'clock at night.
We're gonna have pushback.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We're gonna have pushback on it, but
Mr. Shea, what did you had said something? though?
No, I think we should have something in there about, I don't know if you want to call them unregistered guests or day guests or whatever. And perhaps related to the amount of bedroom space that there is. I think it's unreasonable to say, okay, you're in this house, it's got 2 bedrooms, you can have 6 people here. If you want your brother to stop up for the day to have lunch, he can't come.
yeah, and I know where you're going with this. Where do you draw the line of somebody just stopping in for a couple of hours?
That's why I think maybe if we
It-
use the section 21 as Jessica has it, but perhaps if you wish, reduce the number that are
I
allowed.
think it's simple to have no large functions, no large parties.
What's large?
And you
Yeah,
get that
that's
subjective.
definition.
Well, okay, no more than 4 guests.
Or the
Can we-
number, the
can we
number
actually
of
put
registered and unregistered guests should equal to the, whatever the number.
So
of
we're going
bedrooms
right
for
back to
septic
the beginning.
system?
I just have
We're going right back to the beginning
I got a
again.
feeling that is
You
not
know,
gonna,
yeah,
nobody is
yeah.
gonna keep it at 4 guests. I don't
Oh,
think.
Well, the thing of it is,
12-bedroom house on the.
how are we gonna enforce it? How are we gonna enforce and how are we gonna know when they're already renting, there's 8 people there and their mother and father come over for the day?
I agree with you.
only when they get rowdy and somebody has.
Only when they get rowdy.
I
and
agree.
somebody
Calls the
calls.
cops, that's right.
If we
Exactly.
if we started with.
They
you're
start
allowed-
parking up and down 11D.
Right,
Or
exactly.
Something like that.
I'm
No
on,
one's gonna go out looking for it. It's gonna be, residents
When
will
the call
call.
comes, at least they have a rule to go by, I guess.
Right.
I still,
Not open, public input right at this time.
I still have to agree with the no gas policy. I just can't do it to the townspeople. I can't do it.
Well, to Richard's point, and that's what's been going in my mind as well, is when you say that, okay, now what you just suggested, we go downtown to the public picnic table and we'll have a little gathering there for an hour and then go back to the house.
But
know
you
what you're
can't,
saying.
when you rent a hotel room, you can't invite, I can't take Brock with me to go use the pool. You know what I mean? You can't do that. It's the same type of situation. I mean, I understand it's on a different,
Hotel room does not have a cooking facility. If you're saying a hotel room.
For a 45-acre lake.
There's no-
they don't let you,
Public.
at Steel Hill Resort, they have full kitchens and everything else. They don't let you just bring in a bunch of people. They don't let you do that.
Yeah, but, and that's what I'm trying to say, Nick. That is a public lake. You can't You can, you
Yeah,
can
let
take
'em-
150 people in there and they can stand up to their knees in water
Yeah.
40 feet from your house and you can't do a thing about it.
Yeah.
It's true.
So I'm just trying to.
It's damned if we do, damned if
You're
we
you're
don't.
exactly
If,
right.
if we have 8 bedrooms and you have the 8 guests, now you're back to the 16. But you know, you have 16, you know damn well, if they have 16, they could have 20. And there goes the party again.
We are able to monitor this way, like if you limit it to the amount of guests in the household and you limit it to the amount of vehicles that are in the household based on what we've already put in place. If there are more people and the neighbors or something do notice that and they do call the police, there's no guesswork. Okay, the officer shows up, you have 6 guests. All right, why are these other 2 here? What are they doing here? Why is there another car here that's not supposed to be?
It's opening up a can of worms.
And I can't imagine if one person is over there having lunch with the
Right,
family
It's
member.
gonna be a giant.
When the
rowdy
cops are
mess.
called,
Yeah.
they're gonna
You
hook
know what I
somebody
mean.
up and arrest them.
Right.
for
You know what I
having
mean.
lunch Versus saying,
They need-
you
but
know
they
what,
need a
this
rule.
isn't permitted and you need to
They
leave.
need a rule to go by. I understand.
So are we gonna get a warrant for every house that we go into to check and see if people?
No,
live in it?
that's not the
No,
whole
no.
thing.
I think you're pulling it to a little bit of.
Yeah, you're going too extreme.
I'm not pulling
What-
it too extreme. I'm making a point.
No,
You
but
guys are
it's,
playing on a whole different field here.
What field then what option do
Well, the
you
whole
set? What do you
rent-
think will work?
the whole
What
rental
will
agreement
work?
is,
I don't know, but I know, I don't think this is gonna work. For
I
one,
would-
you're gonna
I
start
would-
telling these
Go ahead,
people that
Richard.
they can't do anything.
go ahead, Richard.
I would propose that we use Jessica's proposed section 21, but reduce the number from whatever it was.
That's what I said
to
earlier.
Half of the
4
allotted
people.
number of
I
guests.
said that and then I got jumped on for saying 4 people.
Well, yeah, but I think what's really going to happen here is for 90% of the cases, whether or not there's 2 more guests or 1 less guest are not going to be, it isn't going to be an issue because people are considerate and careful. And for those other cases where a bunch of rowdy roughnecks show up and start throwing beer cans around and cussing,
Well, then
where you call the
that's when you
police.
call the police. That's what the
And
police
and
for.
there,
But
and
I
then the
mentioned that
police
earlier. If
have got a
4 more people.
have got a document. Okay, you can have 8 plus 2, and I'm counting 14, and there's 6 more in the cellar. So you're losing your permit. And
So
I
going
also
back
think
again to allowing guests during the
allowing
day
guests, but a lower number.
up to 4.
Well,
And that's what I said earlier.
and also at that point, you then force the homeowner that's renting the place to give that some consideration. Right now, there's no consideration. He's not even aware that there's a restriction because there isn't.
Well, this is part of his agreement that he's gonna look at this before he rents.
Right, and if that.
And also with
provision
the
is in
company.
there, he'll think about it. But if there's no provision in there, he'll say, sure, bring the gang up for the day.
So go back to provision of up to 4 guests.
And I don't know if we want to call them unregistered guests or day guests.
Or just visitors.
Visitors, yeah, up to 4 visitors
Visitors
per
probably
day.
better.
And put that in there as a provision. You good with that?
Strongly disagree, but it's up to the board. It's not a 1-person thing. I strongly disagree, but it's a
Mhm.
board decision.
Mhm.
It is.
Well, we have to vote on it.
And then you find out what they're
Because I
having
think
for
it's
lunch. And if
impossible
it's
to
something
say
good, the selectmen will go,
Completely.
nothing. I just said we find out what they're having for lunch and if there's something good, we'll all go.
Okay, so it would read, I understand that the maximum number of visitors shall be limited to 4.
Yes. That's what I'm gonna stick with that.
No, just based on, because I saw the emails from town council,
Mhm.
I would keep the hours in there because they're coincide.
Oh, keep
with
the hours.
With the noise ordinance.
Yep.
Keep the hours,
So if the cops do have to respond because
of
something
course,
is out of control.
Right.
from 7 AM to 11 PM,
Mhm.
according to our ordinance.
Just there's gotta be a rule so the cops can do it if they're unruly, like. So
Put them in a cruiser and take them downtown.
No, I'm talking, but they need a number, they need set number, so or
There it is.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just saying out loud that they need a set rule, because if not, then we're never gonna govern this, but.
Right. And keeping the time restraint there, the ordinance. Okay. And was that all the changes, just those two items?
Nope. So, number 16. It talks about inspections. So it talks about inspections being done in part by the fire department and the code official. So, I had a discussion earlier with Ryan. So what I'd like to propose is if there's a potential that things get real busy in the building department and there may need some additional part-time
Yep. Personnel.
potentially. So I would suggest including code official or their designee.
Okay.
So that way it's not just it, because if it stays as code official, then only the code
That
official
makes
can go
sense.
out and do inspections. So just kind of putting that in
Yep.
there just in case.
Okay.
So that would apply everywhere else. Wherever that's listed as
Okay.
code
Yep.
official. just so
Yep.
you
That
know.
would be in every line that's required.
Yep. What else? That was the main, those were the main changes.
That's three.
I think there was only three.
That's three changes.
Yep.
Going from 150 for application fee to 250,
250. Yep,
going with line 21.
yep. And that was the two issues, the limiting the number of people and some sort of time.
Right. Okay. From 7 AM to 11 PM,
Correct.
up to 4 guests only. Or visitors only. And designee or from the code official.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's it. And then Pedro had included the code, the codes, like he said, when he was here last. He said he was gonna add some of the codes on describing what the number, the 911 number would be.
Oh, okay.
So he did add that. That's the
Okay,
number.
he added
18.
that.
Yep.
All right. Okay, at this point,
And one other thing, so you as the Board of Selectmen should also assign a designee, which is probably Pedro, because he's gonna be the one, signing off on the permits
oh,
and, doing that stuff, because I don't imagine that you guys are gonna want to address every single permit that comes in here. So I would suggest
that
appointing a designee.
our town code enforcement officer signs.
Yep.
I thought you and I had talked about possibly doing some of that too, if we wanted to, Paul.
We did it one time.
Do code official designee or
Or
governing
selectman.
body member or something?
So the permit,
Was that gray? Is that gray?
Well, it's great because there's only one person signing it without an individual act of the board or
Right, so,
majority of the board. I think the designee would have to be an employee and not one.
okay, that's fine.
Mhm.
So leave it at the code enforcement officer or for signing.
Whatever
Good
they
enough.
said.
All right. Yeah, I think what we were looking at is
Code
if there was an issue, it comes to us if there's an issue.
Yeah.
correct.
That's what we were talking
Right.
about. It
Got
comes to us if there's an issue.
Remember.
And then
Yep.
we're the
Okay.
ones who sign off whether or not it's been
Yep, I
corrected or
remember
not.
now. Yeah,
Right,
I
like
thought
if
it
there's
was-
if there's a denial of a permit, then they
Right, if
appeal,
we deny
they
it,
appeal to,
Right.
they appeal to you.
If you want, I know that there was a little bit of talk, and I don't know if you want to do this, but if for some reason Pedro goes out sick or anything like that, do you want me to be a secondary designee? In case he can't get to front of the board?
that would be fine.
Should be.
I mean, I wouldn't do it on a regular basis, but I'm saying.
But if he was
I'm
out,
saying if he had got an extended illness or he had to leave for a while or something.
the only
that-
other person I would suggest would be Jessica. But you have your hands full.
That's up to you, Jess. You can 1 month to have it.
I have plenty, I have plenty.
Okay, so I just thought I'd ask
I
her
wouldn't
first.
mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Believe me.
Thank you.
That would be fine.
Thank you, but no.
But why? Okay. So is that it for changes?
Yes, yes, that is it.
Okay. So at this point, all right, then I will make the motion. That we accept the application for short-term rental permit. As amended. This evening. I think that's all I need to say. As amended as the per discussion and as amended. So we have a second.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I agree with everything except 21. So I agree with the amendments except 21.
Okay, so all in favor of the new contract as amended?
I,
Abstain.
No. 3 yeas, 1 abstention and
Well, no.
1 no. Okay. Thank you, Jessica.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jess.
Jess.
You're
All
welcome.
right. That was painful. Thanks. All right.
It's a long agenda.
Yep. All right. So,
Have a good night, Jeff.
thank you very much for staying.
This was a long time coming.
Tomorrow morning comes early.
That does. Have a good night, John.
Thank you.
You too.
Good
Thanks,
evening.
Thank you, Jess.
Going right to selectmen reports. Richard.
Budget committee is waiting in the wings to get going. Understand normally the schedule for that is to start in November. I'm not sure I know what the date might be yet.
No, it should be, they should be meeting and organizing now. So
September.
we're putting pressure on to make that happen. We've started to get some responses with availability.
Do we have?
They've yet to commit to
Right
anything.
now?
What?
Usually we don't.
Oh, no, not yet.
Yeah, what?
I asked if we had a full board.
With the responses we got, I think we're still, I don't know about if all the positions are filled, but I think we definitely have like 5.
Oh, well, that's good then.
Because there's a school rep, selectman rep, and then we have 3 others that have already responded. On top of that, so,
That's a plus.
yeah. So,
Position you
It's just getting them all, it's getting them all to come to one place at the same time.
It's always a problem. And we have our very successful hazardous waste program that is doing a collection, I believe, this Saturday in Wolfboro.
Okay.
They've got a nice facility up there. Wants to take advantage of that from Alton, needs only stop to see our guys at our landfill to pick up a piece of paper that will allow them to
Go to
make use of that without costing them anything. And the other thing I wanted to ask about, I went the other night to a
CIP.
meeting of the CIP group. And I wondered if we have currently their latest CIP. I looked in my files, I had 2 or 3 of them, but I'm not sure I've got the latest and greatest.
new
which
one
would be
yet.
Helpful before budget season.
Yeah.
I think we're still working on them.
They're still.
Yeah, I don't think it's
still-
done
I
yet.
haven't seen any yet.
They got now.
I haven't seen any
last
new ones
year.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We haven't seen them yet.
Well, they're a lively group, so I applaud them.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, Nick?
The ZAC committee meeting was last night. It went well. We're looking, hopefully we can get some things passed for put on the docket. Again, the Alton Old Home Week Committee, I know I keep talking about it, but they did a great job looking for new suggestions for next year for stuff that people want to see in town.
Mhm.
And we're gonna need more parking for the car show. We're gonna need a lot more parking for that.
Okay, Andrew.
We did have a CIP meeting, as you know, but I missed it because of back issues. And I think the next meeting is next week sometime.
Thank you.
Nothing from me.
Nothing? Okay. The ZBA met on September 7th and we had 6 cases, 3 variances and 3 special exceptions. Of which 3 were approved and 3 were continued to the next month, which would be October 5th. And that was for, the extension was for 2 variances and 1 special exception pending more information. That's all I've got.
All right.
Here we go.
Can I ask you one thing before you start?
Sure.
This here,
That's on there
that's on there?
Yep.
Okay.
for me,
Okay.
to let everybody know. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because I should be talking.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Might as well start with that one. So yes, so the first few things I have are just informational and awareness things for the board. So first of all, the Water Bandstand Committee has. Where did I have that sheet?
You have it right here.
Yeah, I forgot the date now. That's right. It's in my book. So the Water Bandstand Committee had officially issued a letter inviting the Board of Selectmen to attend the unveiling ceremony on Saturday, September 16th. So that'd be this Saturday at 11 a.m. And it's for the Water Bandstand roadside marker, which I don't know if you remember a while back, the board had voted to support an historical marker and decided to have it placed. It's in the grassy area just before you get to the conference center there. That little grassy area
Right now.
Yeah, common area.
I saw, it's got a cover
All
on
right,
it.
thanks, Paul. So yeah, so-
Donation, it was
so-
donated.
yes.
So they invite us to go over there and watch it get unveiled. Cool.
Yeah.
If I may, Mr.
Sure.
Administrator,
Absolutely.
I was asked, because I'm a member of the committee, to speak in behalf of the opening ceremony. But anybody else that wants to attend, and that also yourself as well.
Yes, thank you. So the next thing is, if you recall, there was some discussion last year. So last year, the Conservation Committee in conjunction with the Public Works Director, myself, and some other volunteers that were helping from New Durham area, they did a 319 grant submission to DES. And that was to help mitigate some of the stormwater issues that were running into Mills Pond, causing a lot of problems. So last year we submitted and put together that whole project with the assistance of Dana Huff from Ty and Bond. Well, we unfortunately didn't get it because it's a competitive process. So they have Dana has lined everything back up for us to resubmit this year. The only thing I need is a consensus for the board to go ahead and in the back of the addition, there's letters of support, usually from the conservation, from the town, from everything. So last year I wrote one from the town and signed on behalf of the board to support our 23 submission. Just want to know if the consensus of the board is that I can go ahead and sign one to support the 24 admission. It'll be the same same process, same application.
I'm fine with it.
Just updated.
Yes.
Good with it?
Yep.
Okay,
Definitely.
so move on with that one.
Mhm.
The other thing is, the tax collector wanted me to let you know and advise, that tomorrow at 1 o'clock, they're going to be doing a demo here in the meeting room of, some of the new voting machines.
Oh.
So we're going to be forced to, unfortunately, at some point here, to purchase new voting machines because ours will not be allowed to be used anymore. They're moving on to a new system. And there's only a certain few vendors, and Jen has been on top of going to some area meetings with surrounding towns to vet some of these companies and see what they have. And she had actually asked if she could volunteer to host an area demo. So there will be some other town officials that will come in through the demo. But if there are any selectmen that are available to pop in, more than welcome. And
What time do you say?
to come in 1 o'clock.
And when's this?
Tomorrow, 1
1
o'clock.
o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll try.
And we know it's short notice, and of course, there's going to be a lot of information, handouts and things that I will gather and I will get together. And when they're still waiting on a little bit more state information as to what guidance, what direction we need to go to be in compliance. So we're trying to do the due diligence now, because when they make the swap, we're going to have to act, and we want to make sure that we have all the information for that. So that's at 1 tomorrow. The other thing is Halloween hours, police department and Parks and Rec. We're looking to see if the board would support, trick or treating hours on October 31st from 5 PM to 7 PM, which is our traditional time and day for trick or treating hours in the downtown area.
I'm fine with that.
All right.
Five
So-
to seven.
All right, so
Yep.
we're good to that. We'll move forward and get that. That's so Parks and Rec can get it out on the calendar and start letting people know. The next is, so these next two would require a little bit of discussion, but so as you recall, last meeting, we had a couple of public hearings. And then we moved on and didn't get a chance to discuss, or at least give me a consensus on how they would like me to respond to those. So first of all, we had the Route 11D drainage issue. If you recall, there was a residence that had discussed their drainage issues with the flooding and the storms that coming out of the culvert underneath Route 11D. They are, I'm sure they're waiting for, I usually give some sort of written response when they're looking for some sort of. And I can go ahead and draft whatever way the board feels that they want to respond in that.
I'd be interested to hear what Scott Kidman thinks about it. I know they put some effort in out there to ameliorate things somewhat. And whether he thought that was reasonable and if there was anything else that we could or should do. We certainly don't want to get into the business of fixing everybody's drainage problems, but it sounds like those problems the state created with their road and we perhaps created by allowing development. I don't know if we have any requirements on our zoning regulations that control runoff from individual properties. I suspect we don't. And it may be something we want to look at in the future. My initial reaction to that, and I went out there and looked at the building and I thought, boy, if you build a place here on a deep slope like that, you got to give some consideration to what may happen.
Yes.
But I'm not sure that if I was the person that was building there, I would ever have envisioned that amount of volume out of a drain pipe. Anyhow, I just, as opposed to just saying, sorry, folks, you made a bad call
I
and
don't
now
think
you're
that
going to
amount of
drown.
water is normal to that either.
No.
This is not a normal year of
unusual.
water.
Agreed.
Would you like Scott to come up, Skinman to come up?
Oh,
Could you elaborate a little, please?
I
was about to
You
call
had your
you.
chance.
I was just gonna call you back, Scott.
You had your chance.
Well, I mean, I, as the individuals indicated, they had been in to see me and I did meet with them to talk with them. Had basically this similar type response as Selectman Shade mentioned, as far as, you built a home or you purchased a home in that location, knowing that there is a cross pipe
Mhm.
that enters into your property and by that, it's basically a prescriptive easement per se by its location. So, and they took the water from that location where it outletted and then basically piped it and diverted it through their property. So, there's really nothing, in my opinion, that the town needs to do. Relative to your question about planning and zoning regulations, relative to water and basically you're not supposed to divert water. Correct me if I'm wrong. if I
No,
got
you're
this
not.
right.
You're not.
Ryan
You're
and I
not
talked
supposed to
about
do it anyway.
not to divert water from your property onto someone else's property. So in order for us to do that, as far as a town to take it from one side of the right of way to another side of the right of way, is that we have to have a drainage easement in order to do that. So any pipe that is existing and has been existing, always usually, Brock and I deal with this on a daily basis. We put it back generally within the
way it was.
confines that we're allowed to under our
Mhm.
ability as culvert maintainers by being certified in order to put them back in their location and within the prescriptive skew that they can allows us to do that. So I don't see the relief in that, other than if in fact the board decides, well, listen, let's go ahead and have somebody engineer a closed drainage system for, Route 11D to eliminate this water and then figure out where you're gonna put it and what you're gonna do with it. It's quite a big undertaking, and I've told a lot of people that have been confronted with the same situation because of these high rain events that we've had, is that closed drainage systems are, even though there's been a lot of them that have been installed here to a certain degree in the town of Alton in certain areas to avoid basically erosion. So Ken did a good job at trying to eliminate those areas, to eliminate continued erosion and trying to clean the water before it entered the lake. So, and that was the reason for him to put in quasi partial closed drainage systems. Other than that, it was not to put in city streets, to put in closed drainage, to go into closed stormwater systems and or a closed sewer system. In the cities, that's where that water goes.
Which
Stormwater.
regardless, when you get 6-7 inches of water, it can't handle it anyway.
Can't handle it. That's just it. These, like you said, these rain events that we've been experiencing this year, we're experiencing these things all over the state. These issues with water and places that have never backed up or had water damaging or coming out of the culverts like they are now.
And there's no doubt, I mean, as the area continues to get developed. And more tree cutting happens, more and more impervious surfaces occur, it is going to increase stormwater runoff. And with that in mind, there may have to be in the future other regulations within the planning and zoning regs that say, if you go to from what I've been told, I haven't looked at them personally myself. If you go on the town of Hollis, for an example, they have it right in their zoning regulations that all water, stormwater must be contained within that property. And it cannot leave the property in any shape or form. So, and that's very similar to from what I understand in Massachusetts, a lot of commercial properties, all that stormwater has to stay. If it doesn't go in the city sewer system, collection system or stormwater system, then it goes directly into in-ground infiltration fields. And that happens now. I'm sure folks that have been involved in the trades. Now, anything that's within the shoreline protection area, lots of times we're faced with having to put in-ground infiltration fields, which are, basically a septic system.
Yeah, sure.
That the water goes through and hopefully gets, absorbed into the ground. So.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yep.
Well, thank you. No,
That was helpful.
that helped.
I want to stay right there for a minute.
Yeah.
Got a request.
But on that note, I guess a letter would be appropriate to send.
So is the consensus that it's in a letter, basically stating, I'll word it up, but the intent of it is that, to really.
My hands are tied.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'll go ahead and respond in that manner.
Thank you. Thank you.
And once I draft it, sign it, send it, I'll put a copy in the read file, so you guys have.
Okay.
so you
Okay.
guys
Thank you.
See actually what it would sent. Actually you can do it by email if you want through the email policy. Just send off a copy of it to you guys as well.
No, we're definitely concerned. But these rain events that we've been experiencing this year, it's just more than a lot of these culverts and storm drains can handle.
Yep. So the next topic, obviously from the public hearings, was the Stockbridge Corner Road stop sign. As to
One question for that. The only question I had, Scott, was when you're coming from the Stockbridge side and you're going, you either go left onto Stockbridge or right on the valley. Is there anything, I don't know what the other board members think, as far as those lines go? Is there a way to, which way to the traffic is supposed to go to the left? Is that, that's my understanding, supposed to continue on to Stockbridge or go up to Valley? Because the only confusing thing I saw about that whole intersection was the lines going to the left. Is there a way to either eliminate the lines or make the lines go to the right to, connect up with Valley Road in that case? Is there a way to do that just to
Well-
make it easier for the people at the stop sign?
By rights, what should happen is that since Stockbridge, comes from the gravel section in New Durham
Mhm.
and then comes through, is that first of all, the line break should be staggered back away from the intersection itself. Because is now more of a defined intersection now.
Mhm.
What was happening before is you had a blended road system. You have Valley Road, which merged into
A traveled
to
way,
Yeah,
Stockbridge.
to travel, you're
Corner,
right, travel.
which was hazardous.
Which, if you had changed all the names around and made Valley Road go right straight through, then you might have,
Mhm.
there'd be another argument here as to why we would put up a stop sign. So right now you have a termination at the end of a designated road, which is Valley Road. That's why you have a stop sign there. And I believe that's the reason why the board made the decision that they made was to put a stop there.
Absolutely. No,
Yes.
no, yeah, it's all.
So which would be warranted under, the provisions that, you come to the end of a road, which intersects with another road, that you stop. Or yield, if there's no sign, then you're forced to yield, actually. That Valley Road would need to yield to Stockbridge. Stockbridge would be, in fact, potentially could be a through road. It's not uncommon to put a three-way stop at those types or a two-way stop. Sometimes they get a three-way stop, but
All I was mentioning was just as far as those lines go. Is there anything
Yeah.
you think we
We're
can do
gonna-
better
we'll
with the
be-
lines?
I actually have contacted the striper. We'll be doing some restriping.
Oh, it's already in the works. Okay, that was my question.
Last road to
All I
be
had.
done, and when we do that, we'll make sure that we paint the end as to where we want to hold the stop back. Might take
That
a little
will
bit
help.
longer for it to wear out. We tried to black paint it out, but it keeps wearing off, so.
Okay, thank you.
And I
Thanks,
think,
Scott.
whether or not the board, and I assume that we are still, would still be potentially looking at a redesign of that intersection, but that's something down the road that, until we find out about I will tell you that personally myself, and not that I travel through there every day, but the times in which I've had to travel through there on town business, there, that's the only time I've been through, is that, in my opinion, the traffic has calmed
Mhm.
there, at least in that vicinity, as far as the speed, that type of activity.
Okay.
And I hope that it has quieted down for the residents. I understand their frustration. As
Mhm.
far as the acceleration and frustration, I think that I have not witnessed that. Now, I did witness it at the beginning, when we were out there, but now.
Well, thank you, Scott. Okay, thank you very much. In my opinion, I think that that the town of Alton has done its due diligence of working very hard with public input and putting everyone's head together to try to come up with the right solution with the stop sign and the redirection of the road lines. We've tried to contact Eversource to move the telephone pole. That hasn't been done. That would be a major asset. We've removed shrubbery. I think we've done,
Our hands are tied right
I
now.
think we've done as much as we possibly can to soften the traffic and how it enters and exits. Although I do feel for the residents if they're hearing noise. At this time, I think it's the right decision. And I think there's quite a few people that will agree that it's safer and it's there isn't any accidents happening at this time like there was. So I think we did the right thing.
Do you think my thoughts, because I've been down there a couple times now.
Mhm.
We
So
changed,
have I.
the lines changed.
Mhm.
So it doesn't go to still on Stockbridge, which will hopefully alert the traffic on Stockbridge heading towards Valley Road.
Mhm.
Do you think we still need the stop sign if we put another vehicles turning sign there? Maybe take out that one stop sign on Valley, leave the one on Stockbridge and straighten the line. And aware the traffic about a turning traffic.
turning traffic signal.
I go through there quite a bit. I have to connect to get my kids. And the biggest issue I always see going through there is when I'm coming back and I stop at the stop sign. Half the time I'm glad I do because people are coming down that road and they're just,
Right, because the
This-
line goes that way.
the line
If you
goes
follow
that
the
way.
line, that's the way the line goes.
Well, it's, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Oh, no, that's,
the line goes that way because that's the way the road goes.
that's true, yes.
That's the issue. If the town wants to change the name of the road, call Valley Road, that goes all the way out to Route 28.
No, I was just
Then
throwing other
redefine
options
the
out.
line like you just talked about, and
Yeah.
keep it a through road.
Yeah.
And maybe when they change the telephone pole so you can tee the intersection up, then you could clearly do that, which I think might be the appropriate thing
Teeing
to
it's,
do.
teeing it was the best option we had. We just,
Yeah.
we're
Yes.
not getting any help. When nobody wants to help us out on it, believe me,
If we could, if we
we'd
could
like to
move
help
the
them
pole,
all.
it would-
The whole, it would erase
It
the
would
whole problem.
open up that
We've
whole
tried
corner.
everything.
It would alleviate the whole
And
problem.
the homeowner even agreed already that in that area.
That would work.
Yeah.
That would work.
That we could
We're
utilize.
trying. It's not from lack of
We could
trying.
Oh, no, no,
redefine
we've-
that with the
we've-
land.
We've done our due diligence to try to correct this problem.
Until we can get that pole moved, I think you guys are right.
I think it's working the way it is right now.
There's no sense in doing the line.
We do have,
Just having the. line
there's
stop.
a lot of noise issues with traffic. We're having an increased flow of traffic in town. That's going to increase as time goes on. We're having more and more people coming through. I think the stop sign is a safer bet for traffic flow. I think we've done the right thing with that.
Have we tried political pressure on Eversource?
Mhm.
Going to a representative, to go to a state agency to say, hey, move this
We
thing?
did tonight. Yeah.
We have.
Yeah,
Not,
okay, I didn't
not
know.
to the max, not to the maximum level yet. I issued a formal letter from the town of Alton, coming from the Board of Selectmen, officially requesting that that pole be relocated so that we could address the safety
They saw
issue
that
at
further
that,
away.
at that intersection. We do have a local rep for Eversource. It's the rep that the municipality uses during outages and, emergency management stuff. So she's the one I reached out to. I did get a reply, I did get acknowledgement of the receipt and stuff like that, but it's probably been, since that letter went out, I would say a few months.
Mhm.
Few months.
Well,
Right,
When
yes.
I say political, I was thinking in terms of a state legislator or senator, to
Not
carry the ball
100% sure
for
if
us.
there's enough oomph there to bother Eversource.
But I think another letter.
That's the problem.
Another letter
And
and
again, what do you think?
I think I think you're right. I think we put the issue out to some of the area representatives and
All right.
see whether or not
That's fine.
they'll take it any further.
And if
That's
the
fine.
townspeople that have the problem now, I mean, it's all,
Mhm.
have the problem with the noise.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're listening right now. Call Eversource. Keep calling them
Keep
until,
calling and say you want
I
to
mean, we're trying,
move that telephone.
work
pole.
with us.
We're
Move the pole and we'll fix the problem.
Yeah.
Right, and it will fix the problem.
The only thing that I think we might need to be prepared for is if they agree to move it. I'm sure they're gonna come to us to bear the cost. And I don't know if the
Of
cost
course,
to move those
of course.
lines.
Somebody's gonna have to pay for it. That's. the
Oh, yeah,
thing.
that's par for the course.
Mhm. I mean, I think I think we'd be more than happy to make the repairs to the intersection.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's probably small in scale to what it might take to move those
To move it
lines,
forward.
but I'll definitely keep pursuing it. I mean, that was my intent. I knew that was gonna be a long battle. It wasn't something that was gonna happen quick. So I definitely from my end, with the board's support, I'll keep pursuing it
Yeah, okay.
and see
Thank you.
what we can get.
Meanwhile, let's send a letter, right?
Mhm.
And beyond that, I think we just, I agree with you. I think the stop sign is the best bet currently, and perhaps if you can do some razzle dazzle painting out there
Yeah.
on the lines, and
That'll help immensely, a
Yeah.
little
Ease
bit, if
off.
you can do that.
that should help.
Yeah, I think we're on the right track. And what we're trying to make it as safe as possible, and keep the pressure on the telephone company.
Yep.
Telephone pole. All right,
That's all.
Thank you.
I'll respond in that manner, in writing. And the last thing I had, is just another FYI, but it was something that Todd had, the police chief had mentioned to me to pass on to the board, just in regards to, your, our, hiring and retention efforts recently made. So the PD had an all-time low of positions or openings or all-time high in vacancies
Vacancies. yes.
since I've been here in 22 years. But he just informed me, so on your consent agenda, you have a new hire request there, and he has 2 more to fill the vacancies already in background investigation in the process. And-
Okay,
And they're certified,
it's working.
so with experience, so it is.
Actually, they have CDL license.
Yeah.
No, just gonna say.
Scott.
I think we need to put a dump truck out there with a flag on it like the PD did
Well,
on
you
the
don't-
trailer at the
But
circle.
somebody said.
It might help.
I don't know who it was. Maybe it was probably Brock making a smart remark to me.
I don't believe it,
but
but
Not Brock.
doing a banner and have highway guys' pictures on it and put it out by the circle.
Think so?
Didn't get any takers on it.
No.
No?
Don't give up.
I'm all-
Yeah, that was only me.
That's all.
Jack
Jack
didn't
didn't
want
want
to
to
have
have
his
his
back.
back,
We don't have any
Jack
minutes.
didn't want to have his face
Thanks,
plastered
Scott.
on the side of it.
No
Thank
minutes
you.
to approve.
I just got,
Consent agenda. Do we have an approval?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as written.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have no appointments. Public input, on, anything for town business. Come right up.
Evening, gentlemen. I'm Vince Bober. I think I've spoken to most of you before,
How you doing? Steve?
either as a group or one-on-one. I'd like to thank you for passing this information that Jessica had on the short-term rentals. And I'd really like to thank Jessica. She's really done a good job. on
Worked
this.
very hard.
It's taken, I don't know, is it 4 years, 3 years? It's been a long time. Taken a long time to get it into place. And do I think this is a super duper document? No. But it's a good document and it needs to be put into effect as soon as possible. And like you gentlemen talked about before, it's, we've kicked the football here.
Yes,
And I think we need to find out which direction it's going and then keep redirecting as necessary.
it's a start.
And stop signs. I wish people would understand a stop sign is not a recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Come on up.
Good evening.
Introduce yourself.
Our channel.
Mhm.
My name is Donna Richardson, and I am here this evening to address concerns outlined in my letter and delivered to Town Administrator Ryan Heath on the 16th of August, in which I asked for a non-public hearing with you. I discussed my concerns at length with Mr. Heath on the 23rd, at which time he denied my request for a non-public meeting with you and suggested that I take the vast majority of my concerns up by way of a ZBA appeal. However, tonight I am bringing before you the items that are outside of the scope of permissions and permits of the ZBA and yet are still part of town codes and state laws. Town of Alton Tax Map 38, Lot 44 is owned by my family. This Lot 44 owns the right-of-way named Richardson Drive, and this right-of-way divides lots 48 and 49 on Richardson Drive and a currently 21 Richardson Drive and a currently unnumbered garage lot. This is significant in the fact that the lots were given 48 and 49 were giving building permits and my family was not notified. This portion I will take up with ZBA. As part of construction, however, several things have happened that directly impact my property rights. My family is unduly burdened by the following items. Number one, there are unauthorized and uninspected utilities that run through my family property, Lot 44. The well, the leach field, and electrical lines for Lot 49 are located on 48, requiring that they run through Lot 44, my family property. These permissions were never asked for or granted by my family. Number two, Due to recent rain events, I began looking into what might be necessary for me to put in a dry well. I discovered that the owners of lots 48 and 49 were to put in a storm water management system. This was a requirement by the Conservation Committee approval and based on the plan that was submitted to them. It has not been installed or addressed at all. The result of this lacking stormwater management system is ongoing and excessive runoff onto and through my property and that of our abutters. And as Scott said earlier, you can't do that. Number 3, there is a town-issued singular certificate of occupancy for structures on 2 separate lots. This is not legal. These are separate lots. This is not one continuous lot, nor are they considered contiguous lots. They are separated by lot 44, my family property. The garage on the unnumbered non-address number is permitted to be an unfinished working or storage space and should therefore only get a certificate of completion. Further, if it is to be unfinished, I do not understand why it has running water or the need for a waste line. These are non-permitted utilities that run through lot 44. You getting the hint? My family property. Number 4, there is no separate electric meter or 911 address on the garage lot. This results in utilities running from the house back to the garage and then from the garage back to the house. Again, through my family property without permission or notification to us during the permitting process. As these additional utilities were installed after the erroneous certificate of occupancy, I cannot assure the safety of any emergency responders and or their vehicles should they be on the right of way for any length of time. These utilities were not inspected by the town or the state or anticipated weighted vehicles. Number 5, which I had to change from your copy, but we'll give a copy to Stacy to put into record. Lastly, and perhaps most interestingly, the house and the garage are not located on the lots for which shoreland applications were submitted. There were ZBA approvals for these 2 properties on January 3rd of 2019, and yet state applications on January 29 of 2019 were after the ZBA approvals here in town. The town building permits reflect what the ZBA approved, not what the state approved. And if we go by what the state approved, the lot and the garage and the house are on the wrong lots based on the applications given to the state. How these changes were addressed or approved is unknown because there are no records or discussion in any of the ZBA folders downstairs. I do not take anything lightly that I bring before you tonight. What I'm bringing forward does not reflect well on the town, which is why I initially asked for a non-public meeting. My family has been here in Alton for almost 100 years. We love it here and are very proud of our town. Many members of my family have actively participated on several town committees and in decades of town-sponsored activities. One of my mom's favorite things here is Old Home Week. She often introduces herself as the cookie mom at the 5K. And she says she's the best ice cream scooper Roger Sample ever has recruited. I respectfully am asking for your help in addressing these concerns, and I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well written and good information. Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else? Public input? Okay, seeing none, we'll close through public input. No non-public tonight.
I don't have any non-pub tonight. No.
Okay, entertain and adjourn.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
For a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, everybody.
Been a long night.
Well, that's kind of stolen.